We've got action at Oakland Park as well. Jonathan Kinchin joining me, Andy Serling on the set, Maggie Wolfendale's down in the paddock, and the Big taking care of things down at Oakland Park.
I got to tell you, Andy, this has always been my dream.
Really?
How I wanted to spend my Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
With you.
I got rejected by Mitch Levitis this morning, so I'm going to settle for you. And, you're not bad for second best. We've got some good racing coming up and some interesting racing. So looking forward, actually, to the race coming up here, which we lost the favorite, but maybe it opened the race up a little bit more. Race 5 kicks off our late Big 4. Races 4 through 10 at Oakland Park. Race 5, starting that cross-country Big 5. 3 races at Oakland, 2 races here at the Big A, and the feature, the 9th race at Oakland later today. Track conditions down there. The track is good. We are fast here. We had some lousy weather leading into yesterday, but nice weather today. If you're not a member of Naira Bets, head on over to Naira Bets and join Naira Bets. Play all the action using the $200 match bonus. We'll match with $200 of your initial deposit. Play any track, anywhere, any time. Play through Naira Bets. Race number 5. Horses are on the track for race number 5. And I mentioned the number 2, Winter's Ghost, who would likely have been a heavy favorite in this race, was scratched. So Active Duty, coming off 2 straight wins, is the favorite at 8-5. But we'll start off down on the rail with Indian Quest going out for Emron Ibrahim and Heeman Harkey.
Yeah, this horse has just been kind of on a little bit of a skid. Beaten 10, 10, 10, 8, 18.
I picked him.
Did you?
The number 2, Winter's Ghost, is scratched. Their number 3, Ice Road, who likes to finish second, Rudy Rodriguez and Ruben Silvera.
Yeah, I almost picked this horse, but I was worried the price was going to be shorter than made me feel warm and fuzzy about. I just worry about the pace of this race for this horse at a shorter price.
Potential speed, the number 4, Steady Progress. Goan Kokomachi is riding for Nightball Chatterpaw.
Yeah, it feels like the pace is all this horse will be involved with.
The number 5, Wine Responsibility, going by with Christopher Elliott. And there's the favorite, the 6, Active Duty.
It's where I landed, but it doesn't make me feel great at 8-5.
The number 7, Brooklyn Strong, the once Remsen winner, Jose Lezcano, riding for Daniel Velasquez.
Yeah, very far away from that Remsen form.
Amazing, right? Ice Time, Jimmy Ferraro and Lane Luzzy.
Just has no early speed, which is my biggest concern.
And we round out the field with the 9, Masterwork, Norman Follett and Dalton Brown.
This horse doesn't have much early speed, but also does not break away from the gate. Consistently slow away from there.
Well, we're heading towards the gate, actually, for race 5. We still have a few minutes, and let's get more from the 3rd member of our team, Maggie Wolfendale.
And guys, checking in with the main 2 here. A horse that really kind of caught my eye when they commenced their warm-ups was number 3 in here, Ice Road. It's kind of funny thinking back to the summer when Rudy Rodriguez had claimed Ice Road. He stood there with me as the horses were leaving the paddock and we were waiting to exit the paddock. And he said, I should have claimed eventually the horse that finished 2nd, who was Jack Sisterson's horse, but they want me to claim Ice Road, so I've claimed Ice Road. And I was like, I don't know if that was a good call, Rudy. But he managed to get a win out of him. And it looks as though, at least against this field, he looks like a major player. I'm going to land on him purely based upon the warm-ups that I watched, and I do think that the 1-turn mile is the ideal type of distance for him. Moving on to number 6, your favorite, Active Duty, trying to get his 3rd win in a row and to remain undefeated since the barn switch to Rob Atras. Seems to get along really well with Maddie Oliver. And the one thing I can say about Maddie is that when she fits a horse, she really fits a horse. They really kind of gain that confidence that she possesses when on their back, and she seems to get into a groove with certain horses really well, and the results kind of speak for themselves. So Active Duty looks tremendous, as Rob Atras's horses tend to do. I just wonder, not that this is a particularly tough field, but it's a bigger field, at least. He only had 3 other rivals to take down last time out, and we'll see. I do like the fact that it seems since with Maddie, since with Rob, he's been able to lay closer, and that was my biggest problem with him before, but it feels like he's finally starting to figure things out. So all things good at the end of the day for your 9-5 favorite, Andy.
Thanks a lot, Maggie. Well, Ice Road, is a horse that just doesn't like to win, and I think that's my biggest problem with him. But as far as the 6, Active Duty, doesn't the going get a lot tougher here, even with the scratch of the favorite?
So I wanted to be completely against the 6 because I felt like the last 2 races took advantage of slow paces, but then I thought to myself, I think it's going to happen again.
The pace becomes extremely murky with the two coming out. Now, one of the things I like about Indian Quest, who I think you can make some excuses in his races, and I actually like the job that Heeman Harkey does with the opportunity he gets. He should be a horse that at least could be forward in here.
Well, you would think from the inside, what you're going to do, take back, try to circle the entire field on a horse that's 9-1. You'd think they would try to be aggressive and hold that inside position.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps the number 4 will be the speed. We'll see how things play out as they're heading into the gate. Not an easy one to start out the late pick 4, and I thought the races going forward, there is some interesting stuff to talk about. Looking forward to talking to it about you and Maggie as well. As the horses head of the gate for race number 5, let's get the call from Chris Griffin.
The outside. Masterwork. Hesitates briefly. Goes in. All set. And they're off. Speed from in between horses there as Wine Responsibly was off a step slow but is now rushing up in between horses. And here comes Wine Responsibly is now in front. Brooklyn Strong is going to be right there with the early kick 2, and in between them, that's Active Duty. Yellow Silks is going to be Masterwork on the far outside, lined up across the racetrack once again, and at the rail, Indian Quest even wants to be part of the early mix. 5 of them across the racetrack early. Just in behind them is Steady Progress. It's well settled into the 6th spot in the 2 trailers. That's Ice Road with Ice Time. 23 and 4 for that opening quarter mile. Moderate tempo early as Indian Quest wants to move up, is going to hold that rail position. 2 wide, there comes Wine Responsibly. In between horses, Active Duty. 4 wide is Brooklyn Strong. 5 wide, Masterwork. Steady Progress gets the nice journey so far as in 6th as Wine Responsibly starts to lose some ground. Less than a half mile to go. The 2 trailers still Ice Road and Ice Time. Active Duty is in front, but Masterwork is ranging up to the outside. Masterwork is ready to challenge. Active Duty is back to 2nd. Brooklyn Strong is there in 3rd. Indian Quest is back to 4th. From the back, here comes a run from Ice Road. Orange Silks is now emerging from in between horses. Ice Time is traveling with that one too. They've got to get to the long shot. Masterwork, Active Duty, not done down towards the inside. Brooklyn Strong is trying to come on. And here comes the pair of Ice. It's Ice Road and Ice Time on the grandstand side, and they continue to roll. Ice Road is in the blue cap. Ice Time to the outside purple cap. Masterwork and Active Duty hasn't gone anywhere. Brooklyn Strong is not even out of this yet as they approach a final 16th. It's Ice Road to the inside here of Ice Time. Brooklyn Strong is rallying on late. 3 of them down to the wire. Ice Road is almost there. Brooklyn Strong. Ice Road wins it. Ice Road over Brooklyn Strong, Ice Time, and Active Duty in 1 minute 40.74 seconds.
Well, Ice Road found a field that he could finish in front of, getting just his 3rd win in 31 starts in a race where a lot of horses seemed to go, but I'm not sure any of them really wanted the lead, Jonathan.
Oh my gosh, there was 6 across the track. Everyone, all the riders just looking at each other over and over and over again. Who's going to go, who's going to go, who's going to go? But in turn, it just still fell apart. It's like the pace was that fast. I just think that they were all kind of cruising probably a little bit quicker than they wanted to go. Set it up for horses from off of it. And as far as the winner, the 3 Ice Road, this is a perfect illustration of horses can lose and lose and lose and lose. But when they find that right group, sometimes that's all they needed.
Right, I don't disagree with you. And it's not as though they found a bunch of horses that like finishing first. Brooklyn Strong, who appears to have got 2nd down towards the inside, well, he's 3 for 29 with 7 thirds, and Ice Time, who finished 3rd in here, just 2 for 22. So not exactly a crew. They were all sort of turning to each other and going, you want it, you want it, you want it. Ice Road wanted it the most. He got it done. Ruben Silvera riding hard to the wire.
Yeah, I mean, if you have some connection to ice, and you probably did well in this trifecta.
Or else you got split. Active Duty, I mean, I guess you could say he was a bit forward and it fell apart and he came back on. But honestly, Active Duty just found himself in a tougher field than he had been running against in this race as Ice Road gets it done. For training Rudy Rodriguez, we'll take a look as we head on over to Oakland Park in Hot Springs. Race number 4 coming up. The MIG is there at race number 4. And these are claimers going 1 mile and a 16th. Let's go to the first time to our friend Richard Bigliori.
Hey Andy, Jonathan, how you guys doing? Beautiful day here in Hot Springs, and again another nice crowd, great enthusiastic racing fans here at Oakland Park. This race is a head scratcher to me because I just could not identify or really get a clear-cut idea of how the pace is going to work out. I thought the 4, the Hess, was interesting, has a race under his belt. We talked about that last week, Andy, about how I think horses with a race, particularly with the interruptions earlier in the meet in training, I think that really will benefit him. He's dropping in class, and he's stretching out. So I think he could be forward in a race where, again, I'm just having a hard time identifying the pace. The 10, Mr. Works, looks outstanding. From a physical perspective, I believe he will outrun his 11-to-1 odds at the moment. He gets Christian Torres, your leading rider, but he is coming off a layoff, since last April. And, it's tough to go 2 turns off the layoff, but couldn't look any better, again, from that physical perspective. And the 11, Debater. Guys, you got to keep an eye on this kid, Tyler Bacon. I don't throw around compliments to young riders too easily. This kid has impressed me. I think he's a generational kind of talent. Horses run for him. He's got really sweet hands, good gait rider, and allows horses to get their position going forward. And he's got a really good head on his shoulders as well. For a 17-year-old kid, he really kind of checks the boxes for me. I really hope that he can fulfill all the promise he's showing right now. But, guys, what do you think? I really couldn't come up with an idea about this pace. Do you guys have a feeling for who might be able to make the running here?
Well, Jonathan, I think the 5 and 10, that one of those 2 horses, if not both of them, should be forward here. How about you?
Yeah, and that's the one great thing about Oakland Park. I don't ever look at a race at Oakland and say, oh, pace is probably not going to be too quick. They're going to crawl around there.
They go.
There's a lot of hungry riders there. There's big full fields. There's horses shipping in from everywhere. And I just feel like it's just a little bit more rough and tumble, and they get after each other in terms of the pace. Well, so I agree, 5 of their 10, one of those 2 horses probably has to go.
Well, both you and I look at the pace projector for Timeform US. Now, we don't always agree with it, and it's one of the good things about tools and racing is not always agreeing with them and asking yourself, why do I disagree? Or why did they see something I didn't see, and did I miss out? But I will tell you one thing. Using the pace projector at Oakland Park, it's incredible how accurate it is, how frequently accurate it is. I mean, always things can happen. And I think the 5 and 10 will be forward. Jonathan, I thought the 5 Stuck in Snow was dangerous in this race. He's taking a substantial drop down, this horse, and he does feel like he could be the speed.
I completely agree. I have speed written next to his name. I just don't like the fact that he's just not finishing his races. His last 3 races, he's completely spit the bit, and that was a little bit of a concern for me. You talked about the pace projector, Andy, and just for those at home that are watching along and aren't familiar with Timeform US, the pace projector has this race, the 5 on the lead, and the 10 and the 13 basically vying for the lead. So when they pop away from there, you can have an idea of how accurate it can be at times. I thought it was the 11 or 12. And when I'm deciding between 2 horses, Andy, and one of them's 2-to-1 and one's 10-to-1, the default usually is to go with the longer price.
Well, you have to go the longer price. The horse that I find to be a curiously overbet here is Hess. Hess could certainly win this race, and he has run effectively going longer, but I'm a little surprised that he's the favorite.
Oh, well, a horse that just comes from out of it. He's not that much faster than the rest of them. He doesn't break well all the time. Keep your eyes on the 4 when they pop away from there before you start looking to see if the 5, 10, 13 make the lead. The 4 usually breaks a little slow.
And we'll see what happens as they head in the gate. Matt Dinnerman has the call of race number 4 at Oakland Park.
And to the outside, Wicked Prince to round out the field. Wicked Prince and Jose Gutierrez coming up to the outside. That's the 11, Debater. Tyler Bacon went out the back. Looks okay, though. He's going to get back in the saddle here. Tyler Bacon. We're ready to go. And we're off. Unofficial beginning, then afterwards having to steady was the favorite Hess. He's in midfield after that. Stuck in Snow up on the pace today. Double check taking the second spot. Native Moonshine holds the inside position, snatches that second position away as they go into the turn. Stuck in Snow is first. Native Moonshine holds the inside spot and comes up to challenge. These 2 hook up on the front end. They put about 2 lengths on the gray. Double check. He's running in third. Mr. Works is next in the field to the inside. Outlaw Run is there. Then comes Wicked Prince Prince. Gap of 2 to Hess. He's made up ground. Debaters alongside of him. 2 more back to Storm Strategy. Another 4 to Fetches Brom. And then Street Commander, who's second to last. One way well out of it is Mr. Cougar as they head down the backstretch here. Native Moonshine in a big number, 99 to 1, has the lead as they approach the half-mile pole. He's a half length in front, stuck in snow. Now the presser from the outside second. Kelsey Har gets outlaw run all the way into third, makes an early move, and Hess is fourth now, joining that rival. Double check 3 deep into the turn. Storm Strategy down on the field in mid-division here. He's sent along. Mr. Works is given way. Debater is trying to make a move. He's 5 lengths off the lead. Fetches Brum is next, and the others have got to get going as they round the forward turn and come to the top of the lane. Stuck in Snow has the lead once again here. Hess into the second position, chasing. Stuck in Snow hugs the rail. Hess drifts wide off the turn. He's trying to catch Stuck in Snow with 3/16 to go. Stuck in Snow on the inside. Hess is on the outside, grinding away. These two will set up for a final furlong battle here. Hess on the outside, now with a head in front. Stuck in Snow second on the inside. It's Hess in front narrowly from Stuck in Snow, and that's how they'll finish. Hess grinds it out. Stuck in Snow was second. Outlaw Run third. Storm Strategy was fourth.
Well, I guess we helped put Hess in the winner's circle, and you were right, Jonathan. He did break slowly, but Hess does grind it out well ahead of the rest of the field, the 4 and 5. The 5 probably cost victory by the aggressive tactics on the 1,000,000 to 1 Native Moonshine.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you bet the 5, you're allowed to be annoyed.
I'm always annoyed, but I bet him.
Yeah, exactly. The one who was a huge price, who was 97 to 1, 99 to 1, 138 to 1 in his last 3 starts, was unbelievably aggressive and put a lot of pressure on the 5 and ultimately made the difference.
Yep, as the 4 was able to grind him out down to the finish. Keith Asmussen getting the win. Back in the winner's circle at Aqueduct for race number 5. That's Ice Road. Ruben Silvera riding for Rudy Rodriguez wins the battle of attrition down the stretch.
No, it's, look, another situation where the pace didn't appear that fast, but it was 5 horses across the track, looking each other in the eyes. No one really got comfortable on the front end. And if you look there, the 3 horses that finished 1, 2, 3 were out of they came from out of it. They were closers in this spot. The race fell apart, and Rudy's horse, the 3, Ice Road, finally found the right group.
Yep, got his second win in relatively recent months for a horse that had trouble finding it. 730 on the win end, the 378 trifecta, just under $50 for 50 cents. The early pick 5, $395 as we're done with race number 5, but still plenty of action to go here at Aqueduct as well as Oakland Park. Big scratch in race number 6 with McAfee coming out the outside, and while Arcadian, the 6, is favored now, I think, Jonathan, you'll agree, by post time, the number 1, My Matoli, is going to be the favorite.
Yeah, I would think so, but I actually kind of lean towards the 6, Arcadian, so I'd like to see that price flip.
We'll see what happens as we get more action on America's Day at the races. Mama's Gold, the new Mama's Gold, coming off 2 triple-digit Buyer speed figures, going to cut back in distance in the safe Florida Sandy on Saturday here at the Big A.
Save Florida Sandy trying to come on through. Cashatrea from out of the clouds. Down to the finish. Here's Wake at Noon. Surging on the outside. Save Florida Sandy. Save Florida Sandy. Wake at Noon. Here's the wire. Save Florida Sandy does it.
A lot of us that were around for the last 20 to 50 years remember Save Florida Sandy. 98 career starts, 33 wins, 17 seconds, 12 thirds for this New York bred, owned and bred by Sandy Bacon, won over $2 million. He was an incredible horse. And Jonathan, I'm sitting here looking through his PPs. I can't count them all, but I'm looking through the number of triple-digit buyer figures he ran, and I'm telling you, it's close to 30 to 40 of them.
Well, the thing I'm the most impressed about is I can't think of too many horses that's past performances, lifetime past performances, are on 2 pieces of paper.
It's really incredible to look at. Started in 1996, finished second and third behind Kelly Kipp in his second and third starts, who many will remember as quite a killer. I'm looking at some of the great names in here. Ordway won the Champagne that he was in. He lost to Banker's Gold and Storm Fever. Then he was so good, even the MIG rode him in quite a few of his starts. He was what racing is all about. And of course, remembering his owner, Sandy Bacon, as well as breeder and owner. But the field for Save Florida Sandy, Mama's Gold, the question with him is, do you think he can be as effective cutting back to 7 furlongs?
I think he can. I think he can. I think he's going to be finishing. I think he's got some tactical speed. They'll run away from him a little bit. I don't think he necessarily has to make the front, and I think he'll be able to finish.
That's what concerns me. He is a horse that needs to, it's always shown he needs a lead. He has completely and totally turned his career around going to the barn of Jimmy Ferraro. This was a horse that spent most of his career badly quitting. He was actually claimed away from, and you can see Romero almost came off him in the late stages. Nice job by him. He was originally, I think Mike Maker had him originally, and he was claimed for $25,000, if I have it right, in like a 20-length win with a giant buyer on a big speed track, and he just didn't live up to it, but he has come alive for Jimmy Ferraro.
He comes from a really productive family, too. My Main Squeeze, another good New York bred, and then Rodney, who I think won 2 years ago on Belmont Stakes Day.
Had a lot of good wins. Now, Doc Sullivan will be happy that Bank Frenzy's not in this race, who really got a dirty beat on him, nailing him at the wire last time. And he is the horse who's probably more inclined to be effective at 7 furlongs, but is he as good as Mama's Gold?
Yeah, look, I think that's the biggest thing, right, is that I don't think anyone's arguing that Mama's Gold is the best horse in the race. But do the circumstances hit Mama's Gold between the eyes, or do they help a horse like Doc Sullivan? I would say that, that Doc Sullivan, some of his best races as well, were in the slop. So I'm wondering if maybe how a dry racetrack will treat him.
Let's hope we have one. I think it's supposed to rain later.
Okay, well, hopefully.
Snow, rain, whatever. It's all coming. It's coming. It is winter. But we'll see what happens. An interesting race. I'm just kind of hoping Mama's Gold goes on with him, because I think he's a neat story, and I like seeing Jimmy Ferraro do so well. And there's one guy who's down in Florida, but Rick Dutrow, he's not in Florida. He's at the Big A. He'll be involved in race number 6 when we come back.
And clear off at the Naira Benz Haskell.
In the Belmont Stakes at Saratoga.
Dornock setting up moderate pace. 3/4 of a length ahead.
As the field turns for home.
They're at it again. The 2 Belmont first and second place finishers.
Mind Frame on the outside. It's coming after Dornock.
Dornock wins the Haskell.
It will be Dornock to win the Belmont Stake.
Horse racing? Check. Weekly promotions? Got 'em. Huge payouts? You bet. With Naira Bets. Download the app today and bet on any track, anywhere, anytime, with live HD horse races, betting tips and tutorials, expert picks, and more. You bet with Naira Bets. Join now for a new member bonus at NairaBets.com.
Connect, a Grade 1 winning millionaire, making his mark as a sire. With Rattle and Roll, a Grade 1 winning 2-year-old. Graded stakes winners, Whitwater's Rand. Implicated. And Apple Picker. Connect, a proven sire in the making, standing at Lane's End Farm.
There's a big, bold, beautiful world waiting to be explored by you and your friends, of course. But not just any friends, the best of friends. The kind of friends who let you do you. Because in this world, it's positive vibes only. And when you get in the zone here, you stay a while. These aren't just good times, they're the best of times. And your time is now. So come explore. Resorts World.
That's the only thing I ever wanted to do in my life. So I think since I was a kid, since I was like 10 years old, I was, just wanting to be a jockey.
Jockey Luis Rivera Jr. got his start at a young age, where he attended jockey school in Puerto Rico.
It was a nice experience because you get to start all the way from the bottom to the top, like from walking horses all the way to breezing horses. And it showed you a bunch of stuff with the game, being from a country that has like a lot of good riders. It makes you feel awesome, being part of the leagues of jockeys, My whole life, I always wanted to come to the United States. No matter what track I'll be riding in, I just wanted to come to the United States to ride. Since I started watching racing, since I was young, my whole life I was aiming, to be here.
Can Lady Milagro get there? A 16th to go. It's Lady Milagro. She's still up by 2.5. Lady Milagro at 51-1. Lady Milagro, Luis Rivera Jr. pumps his fist. 51-1 shot in the autumn days.
As soon as I passed the wire, it was the greatest feeling of my life because winning a stake is another feeling than winning any other race. Right after the wire, whenever I stopped the horse, I took a moment just to look at the sky and thank God because, man, it was a long way to get here, and it feels awesome.
Rivera Jr.'s dream was to be a jockey at a young age, and he had some strong jockey role models to learn from.
I grew up next to the track, and my dad was a jockey, but every single day after the races, he called me because, he rides from Monday to Thursday. So whenever I'm riding, he's free, and the only thing he's doing is watching my races. And after every race, he texts me, oh, you did this good, you did this bad. He always trying to teach me how to be a better jockey after every single race. The best feeling is riding with your dad. No matter if you got the worst horse in the race, it's another feeling to ride with him. That was the best thing in racing. I have won stakes, I have won a lot of races, but I just want to beat him. That's all. I just want to beat and show him who's the best. I already knew this is what I wanted to do since I was a kid. So I know this is my passion. I can't imagine being more than a month without riding horses. This is what I really like. I really like the adrenaline whenever the gates open. I like the adrenaline during the race. I like the adrenaline in the turf races whenever you're swerving in and out horses. Is another feeling. Maybe I haven't achieved all my goals, but at least I made it. One of my goals since I was a kid was to become a jockey, and right now I'm living out of it, so it feels great. It feels amazing.
Welcome back to America's Day at the Races, and nice to hear about Luis Rivera, a young rider who did well here as an apprentice, and he's doing A-OK here as well since becoming a journeyman, and he's going to inherit favoritism in all likelihood. In fact, is now at even money with the one, My Matoli with McAfee coming out.
I wasn't crazy about this one.
No?
I mean, I thought the figure was nice last time, but, the race was good, but I don't think the horse needed to be favored in this spot. I feel like they kind of panicked a little bit when McAfee came out and they didn't know where to go.
Yeah, I did pick him. I was actually going to bet him against McAfee, so obviously I'm not going to bet him at even money because I'm not thrilled by Arcadian. I feel like Arcadian is a classic. Last time was the Time horse who really improved off the claim for Wayne Potts coming up the rail, and frankly, I won't be surprised if the horse he beat last time, whose name I'm not even going to try to pronounce, the 3, I think he has a chance to turn the tables today. I think you disagree, though.
I just think Arcadian is a different horse. I think he ran for 20, kind of, snuck one by on him, 1 by 9. He got claimed that day, so he didn't really sneak one by. And then he went to Wayne Potts' barn and just really took another step forward.
On the track for race number 6, the number 1, as we mentioned, Luis Rivera riding My Matoli for Carlos Martin.
I'd like to think he'll be aggressive here, first time getting Lasix from the inside.
Yeah, I agree. He has no real choice. The 2, I'm Solo in Love, has never finished first, but did get put up on a DQ last time. Rudy Rodriguez and Ruben Silvera looking for 2 straight.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to get 2 straight.
I don't either. He's never finished first in a race. The 3, Ekinismir, whatever. I'm not even going to try anymore. Jose Gomez riding for Rick Dutrow.
Yeah, lost a ton of ground last time and actually ran better than it looks on paper. I still wonder if he's fast enough if these other horses show up and run their good races.
Brave Bear is going by here, a potential speed for Mitch Freeman and Lane Luzzy. There's the 6, Arcadian, getting a little warm-up from Jose Lezcano, Wayne Potts.
I just think he's a little sneaky in the starter allowance condition where I think he's probably better than these other horses based on those last 2 performances. He'll be able to prove it here in a couple minutes.
Well, 7th and 8th, 8 scratch. A rare change-up here. I'm the chalk-eating weasel on the desk. Where are you going with the 1 in this race, my Matoli, Mag?
I've landed on him very reluctantly, Andy, because my Matoli is a horse that was actually supposed to run a month after he broke his maiden back on November 7th on December 6th, but he was a late vet scratch at the gate that day, and he definitely looked best in the paddock, but I'm watching him warm up, and I just wish he was showing me a little bit more energy for a horse that does project to have that early speed, and one would hope so from the rail. Now, the front reps do stay on, and when he won that race, breaking his maiden, he never switched leads, and he got a little late. So I'm very, very reluctantly taking the 4 to 5 shot because I don't really like anybody else. Because the second choice in here, Akamusuri, I'm just going by what Chris Griffin says. I don't know if that's right. I hope it's right. This is the first time I'm seeing him, and he just looks like a horse that he is what he is. I'm not sure if we're going to see that much more improvement from him. Now, he did improve a little bit when stretching out to the mile, and this is a good distance for him looking at him physically, but he's just kind of underdeveloped. You know, he doesn't possess a lot of muscle mass or conditioning. Also, front wraps go on him for the first time. He was just not appealing from the physical sense of things. He was a little bit against the racetrack last time, and it looked as though, too, in the early stages, he wanted to be leaning out. So maybe a horse that's also a little bit tough to handle as Jose Gomez will climb aboard for the first time. Now, the long shot that I like is number 5 in here, Brave Bear, but he has yet to run a race fast enough to be competitive, hence being the longest shot in here at 16 to 1. But Mitch Freeman will put the blinkers on for a horse in his last 2 starts, albeit one was a sprint. Had a little trouble getting away from the gate, and as Andy said, could possess some more speed, especially with a more outside post. He looks fabulous, solid, well-muscled, really well-defined, great coat to him, a horse that can get a little bit nervous in the paddock. They saddled him away from the rest of the field today, and he handled himself beautifully. So he is the long shot that I'd want to throw in there somewhere, Andy, whether it's an exacta, with the 1 here, I suppose. But again, definitely taking the lesser of the evils from my vantage point.
Thanks a lot, Maggie. I feel like I like the 1 more than anybody here in my Matoli. I actually liked his last race, and source that's kept some pretty good company during his career. In fact, 2 back, he finished behind a horse that ran a pretty big race last week.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm struggling saying that one.
Colloquial.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I appreciate you admitting your struggles, Jonathan.
Hey,
it means a lot to me.
Look, I'm here to be honest. Yeah, I mean, he feels a little. I don't want to say he's a 1 number horse. That wouldn't be fair. But the number that I think gave you the comfort is a little bit of a standout compared to what he had been doing.
That's fair enough. But then again, Arcadian's got the same sort of situation, right? Where he hadn't run well. Now, you could say that his big improvement is directly related to be claimed by Wayne Potts. So maybe that's the horse he is now. But I'll tell you what, this horse got some trip last time.
Yeah, I know. I mean, just perfect. It worked out perfectly for him. What about the prices now? I know that you made the decision, or I know you made it earlier before talking horses, but now at the prices, do you feel differently?
No. Listen, I was going to pick the 1 against the 8. So obviously I felt pretty strongly about the 1's chances. You know me, I don't bet even money shots, but I have no interest in betting against him. The horse that I'd want to bet against here was Arcadian. Whether or not that turns out to be correct remains to be seen. I want to see him do it again. We'll see. Maybe the 1 was the last time was the time with my Matoli, but I'm hoping with a clean break that Lee Rivera can try to wire the field here.
So you want him to be aggressive from down there?
Yeah, I don't think he has
if he
any
was sitting
choice.
third, you're going to be aggravated.
I mean, wasn't he supposed to be the speed? I'm always aggravated, as you well know, but wasn't he supposed to be the speed even if the 8 was in the race? I mean, even with before the scratches, he was the speed, I think.
From down there, I don't know what else you would try to accomplish.
Horse coming out of sprints, we'll see what happens as they're trying to get whatever his name is into the gate. Giving some hassles there, Jose Gomez, waiting patiently. What did she say? Akin Musir?
Yeah. I think
Musiri or something? I don't know. Whatever it is, we'll see if he wins. You could probably get 3 different pronunciation by asking connections. Couple more to load. Chris Griffin has the call of race number 6.
Brave Bear. Lane Leslie aboard. Goes in. Arcadian. Last to load. Arcadian's in. All set. And they're off. My Matoli breaks well down towards the inside, but Brave Bear is intent on getting to the front, and Brave Bear is the clear leader, is up by a full length. Right to the outside is Arcadian, is now well settled, and My Matoli wants off the rail. Luis Rivera Jr., My Matoli, they move to the outside. Now in the 2 path is Brave Bear is the clear leader from out of the chute. It's Brave Bear, followed by My Matoli. In between horses, there's Akin Musri. 4 wide is going to be Arcadian, and the distant trailer so far, about 6.5 lengths of the trailer, is I'm Solo and In Love. 23.61 for the opening quarter mile. Lone leader up front, it's Brave Bear. Brave Bear is going to try and take them all the way, and a well-settled My Matoli is in pursuit, is comfortable in the second position, only 3 off the lead. Moving in closer at the rail, Akin Musari is trying to pick up that 3rd position, now getting closer to 2nd, and right there as well is still Arcadian. Going to have to pass them all as I'm Solo and In Love as they work into the far turn, 47-4 for the half-mile time, and Brave Bear is still there. It's Brave Bear who's up by 2.5. My Matoli starts to cut in the margin now, and here comes My Matoli as a clear 2nd. Akin Musari is still 3rd. Backing up out of it was Arcadian. I'm Solo and In Love is starting to rally on, but still 5 off the lead. Brave Bear has been passed by My Matoli. My Matoli is the new leader. Akin Musari is all in, trying to rally on still. I'm Solo and In Love. My Matoli now straightens up and kicks away. It's My Matoli is trying to lug in just a touch there. My Matoli is still about 4 lengths clear. I'm Solo and In Love is making up some big ground, but running out of time. My Matoli with a 16th left to go. My Matoli will sprint clear and win this one easily. I'm Solo in Love 2nd. Akin Musari finished 3rd in 1 minute 39 and 4.
Well, Maggie was right that Brave Bear had his game face on today. Unfortunately, just can't get the distance, but he showed a lot of speed. But Luis Rivera did a nice job steering this one off the rail. And once the number 6, Arcadian, basically threw the tallow in around the half-mile pole, it was easy from there.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the top 3 choices, only one of them showed up, and it was the horse that you picked, My Matoli, the one horse down on the inside, and it was never really in doubt. It's a little interesting. I think I would tread lightly out of this race. I'm not sure. I would imagine the figure probably won't be too quick. We'll see. But I would tread lightly. With the 2 running as well as the 2 ran, it makes me question the quality of the rest of the field.
Well, it's actually interesting with the 2 running as well as he did, and I agree with you, because a number of horses out of that race are coming back, I want to say, on Sunday's card. And I think for, you kind of want to see how this horse ran because the race got such a big figure, it was questionable. And maybe the 2 actually kind of legitimized that race with his performance today. And you're always, I think, one of the things when you're a horse player and you watch races, you're always looking at them with the information it's providing you for races going forward, whether it's horses you want to bet out of them. And in this case, you want to see how he did comparably for the horses that are out of that race on Sunday.
Well, I would say until you're not going to know until after the race on Sunday. But I would suggest that if you find the right prices based on what we saw today, I think maybe you could take a little bit of a leap that was a faster race if you're getting the right price. Now, I wouldn't take a leap on a 2-to-1 shot.
Well, I mean, the question is, the horse who won and got disqualified in there is going to be the heavy favorite, but there's 4 coming out of that race, and there's some trips in there. I don't know that he ran back to his 71 buyer, but I do feel like he ran a reasonable number here, and all things considered, track paying very slowly. But Luis Rivera, we showed a feature on him, and he got the job done for trainer Carlos Martin on My Matoli. His horses are on the track for race number 5 at Oakland Park. Race number 5, they're going 6 furlongs. And Jonathan, I don't know about you, but I found this race completely impossible.
Yeah, I ended up landing on the 6. So, yeah, 9-2.
He looks like the speed, but aren't you afraid to maybe much of a pace? Texas hottie Nick Juarez riding for John Horan.
Yeah, one that does have a little bit of early speed. We'll probably want to try to use it in this group.
Stablemate is Chiquita Reina.
Yeah, it was
Walter De La Cruz. Sorry.
Yeah, you're all right. Extremely wide last time. Maybe can work out a little bit of a better trip here, breaking from the 6-hole.
Thorn Crown will break from the rail.
Yeah, it was 17-1 last time. It ran okay. Could improve second off a short break.
Rafael Bejarano riding for Ron McQuett up on the edge, the 3.
Broke a little slow. Could break better here. I like this one to a certain extent, just not at 3-1.
Big price on the 4, Ready for Wine with Hugo Torres. If he wins, a lot of people will be ready for wine.
Yeah, hasn't run since June. I don't see anything on paper that suggests he'll run well here.
Another long shot, Rocco Bowen riding No Pay, No Hay for Kim Poole.
Yeah, I mean, won last time, but I don't see that happening here again.
Here's Jonathan's pick. Correctly named on Valentine's Day, New Woman.
Yeah, it just has some speed, and the final figures make a little sense. Seems to be improving to a certain extent. Throw out that last race.
Keith Ashton rides End of Innocence, who went by. Accelerating Babe, the 8. Why isn't Rick Dutcher planning to train this horse?
Yeah, another one that has a little bit of speed. Has been single digits in a handful of last starts, but keeps getting second.
Ramon Vasquez rides Chipotle Pepper, the number 9, who rounds the field out.
This was going to be my other idea, but at 5-2 in a field that I feel like is wide open, I just went elsewhere.
Doesn't he feel like last time was the time, too, as we head down to our man, the Mig, in Hot Springs?
Thanks, Andy. Yeah, and we'll start with the 3. Ron Marquette's runner on the edge, up on the edge. Dropping in class, I think, makes a lot of sense. Ron's having a terrific meeting. Got here about a half hour before, came on set and went up to Ron's box, was chatting. And Mark May, guard for the Washington Redskins, was up in his box, a terrific guy. Won the Super Bowl twice with them. And he hosted an event last night to honor the Broyles Awards, to honor assistant coaches. What a gentleman. Loves the game. Comes to Saratoga, and we might be seeing him up there too, guys. I thought the horse was very interesting, and I think he might have the right style. Personally, I think there's going to be ample pace on here, and I think this horse will be lurking right in behind the pace. The 6 New Woman. You get Joey Belmere. Shows so much promise. He had an injury, was off a while. I think he's rounding back into form, the rider. I think this horse makes some sense, this filly by Carpe Diem. But she may be getting a lot of pressure, particularly from the outside with the 9, Chipotle Pepper. And I always find it interesting. You get these horses, Norm McKnight with Bruno Schickendans, the owner, come down from Woodbine, have never run on dirt. And a lot of them seem to really enjoy it. I think, they must work on that training track, which is dirt, at Woodbine, and they get a good feel for who they should bring down here for the winter. Looks very sharp, had a saddle away from everybody. And what they'll do here at Oakland, because the paddock's kind of tight, they bring them out to the winner's circle, and they saddle there away from everybody. Boy, this horse made a super impression from a physical perspective. And I'm a big fan of Ramon Vasquez. I think he did a really good job, made a nice impression when he rode in New York. And I think it really kind of made him a better rider. When you ride with good riders on a daily basis, good habits rub off, and you start to kind of look and watch how the top guys prepare and how they approach things. And I think Ramon Vasquez is a guy that is going to continue to improve. And who knows, maybe one day he'll come back to New York and see if he can set up shop.
I feel, Richie, like we've actually seen him occasionally recently. He's traveled around a little bit, and he is a talented rider. It's interesting with Norm McKnight, and I just want to expand a little on what Richie was saying about horses coming from Woodbine. Now, if you're not familiar, Woodbine races on either turf or synthetic. And they have a training track that's dirt. So it affords the trainers the opportunity to work their horses on dirt if they want to ship them and run on dirt tracks. And it does seem like every year Norm McKnight, he's really the only trainer, Jonathan, that comes from Oakland, and he does have success. But it's a bit of a crapshoot.
Yeah, he's 21% for the meet. Last I looked, 5 for 24. It doesn't account for anything earlier today. And so, yeah, he's kind of figured it out. He knows the kind of horses that run well down here. And it works for him. The only problem I have no problem with the horse as an individual, but this is a gambling game, and I do feel like in a wide open spot, this horse doesn't differentiate enough between horses like the 6 or the 3 or I'm not crazy about the entry, but the 6 or the 3.
I agree with you. And the other feel I have is, I say a horse was a last time was the time. I know he was first time in the dirt. You don't know if he's going to handle it. But you got 4-1 on a horse that's some pretty decent form. And if you felt like he was going to handle the dirt, this is a tougher spot.
No, I think it's an important lesson. Last time is the time. And most, most gambling situations, even if you're like betting sports or whatever, it's like, you know, the Knicks winning by 30 and then coming back the next night and playing them because they won by 30. Then no, you should have been there when they won by 30.
It's the old doubleheader thing, right? When very hard to sweep a doubleheader in baseball. It just seems to work out that way as they head in the gate for race number 5 at Oakland Park. Once again, Matt Dinnerman will have the call.
The gray. Chipotle Pepper will be last to go in. No Pay No Hay goes forward. Accelerating Babe, post position number 8, will be the last one in, one of them anyway. Chipotle Pepper is going to go in first to the outside post. Here's Chiquita Reina, Texas Hottie. We're ready to go. And we're off. Ready for wine off a little bit slowly. Chipotle Pepper put into play and has an arrow lead here. And strides about a neck in front of Accelerating Babe, who's moving up to come and challenge. Chipotle Pepper with a neck lead on Accelerating Babe. Gap of 2 to Up on the Edge, who runs in the 3rd position. Chiquita Reina is alongside of her. A Deep New Woman, End of Innocence, 4 wide, within 4.5 or 5 lengths of the lead. No Pay No Hay is next with Texas Hottie and Thorn Crown to the inside. Big space back to the slow starter, Ready for Wine, who's trailing as they round the far turn. Accelerating Babe nose in front now. Chipotle Pepper comes back at her. These two right together. Chipotle Pepper on the outside reclaims the lead by just a narrow margin. Accelerating Babe right there. These two going at it, and they've put 5 lengths on Up on the Edge, who's sent along from the 3rd position. End of Innocence trying to get into the race as they come off the turn, and then Chiquita Reina. They're down the stretch. Chipotle Pepper, Accelerating Babe side by side. Accelerating Babe on the inside, putting away Chipotle Pepper. Here comes No Pay No Hay up the inside, about to get up into second. It's Accelerating Babe with the lead, shaking away. Accelerating Babe and Eddie Guariardo to win it by 2. Photo for second. No Pay No Hay and End of Innocence. Chipotle Pepper was 4th.
Well, he wasn't trained by Rick Dutrow, but he ran like he was trained by Rick Dutrow. Coming in from Hawthorne Park, Eddie Gallardo riding this horse for Bruce Reichen, and surprisingly battling for the lead with Chipotle Pepper, but clearly best, Jonathan.
Yeah. I mean, and look, and Bruce hadn't been having a great meet to get to start off and to get a win there with this one. The horse ran well last time, lifetime best last time before moving to his barn, and you know, turned away the 9 Chipotle Pepper, right? At the top of the stretch, Chipotle Pepper was sitting pretty chilly. Ramon Vasquez was sitting there not really moving. I think at that point, if there's in-game betting, you would have bet that horse was going to win, and he just absolutely turned him away.
And I think Chipotle Pepper showed here, if he's going to win, he needs to be clear on the lead. He does not want to get into a battle, because I agree, he looked like the stronger of the two, and you felt like if he got beaten, it's because the others came from behind, but he could not handle Accelerating Babe, who was much the best in race number 5 at Oakland Park. There's still a lot of action to come on America's Day at the Races. Stick with us. We're back on America's Day at the Races, brought to you in part by Claiborne Farm. 100 years of doing the usual unusually well, and every time I see a shot at Claiborne Farm, even in the snow, it makes me wish I was there. A beautiful place. As the long shot winner of race number 5, Accelerating Babe, heads into the winner's circle. Eddie Gallardo getting the victory on this 20-1 shot.
Yeah, and did it the hard way. Turned away a short price horse, pays 42.20. Call that a cap horse if you're playing in those win place contests.
The exacta paid almost the triple paid almost $8,400 for $2 in there, as we'll be heading back to Aqueduct as well for race number 7. And race number 7, a pretty competitive race as we're heading out to the track. The number 1 looks like Jose Lezcano riding Acoustic Avenue, who's one of the choices. But race number 6, My Matoli, Louis Rivera riding 4. Carlos Martin gets the popular win.
Yeah, ran extremely well. Probably had some favors from some scratches and some other horses just not showing up, but did his job, ran well enough, and it was a good ride by Louis Rivera as well.
We'll cut back to 6.5 furlongs for race number 7. And looking at the doubles, favoritism will fluctuate between the 4 Agalos the Great, who's 9-5, and Caldo Candy, the number 8 horse, who's 2-1. It's race number 7 at Aqueduct, as we have a lot more to come on America's Day at the races. A rider who's making some noise here as an apprentice. First time on the scene. We know his father better, Stuart Elliott, but Christopher Elliott, I like the aggression he's shown, and a rider who's improving here at Aqueduct.
Seize the Gray wins convincingly.
Seize the Gray. He's going to seize the day in the Pennsylvania Derby.
Seize the Gray is still there. Seize the Gray wins the Preakness.
Enhance your handicapping with AI Fast Facts, exclusively on NyraBets. Open your NyraBets app, click View Runner Details, and a stat-driven fact will appear for all U.S. thoroughbred racehorses. Download the NyraBets app to start using Fast Facts today.
RaceLens is the most in-depth product in horse racing, with unique features found nowhere else. True odds, predictive analysis, and pace projection. RaceLens. It will change the way you follow horse racing and take your game to the next level.
I remember being 2-3 years old, going to the track and looking at the horses since the beginning, pretty much, you know. When I was like 14 years old, we were in California and my dad had won a stake at Del Mar. That's when I started thinking about it.
Smarty Jones and Stewie Elliott goes on to win the Kentucky Derby by 2.5.
I've watched the Derby and the Preakness and the Belmont 150 times or more, you know. It was just really, really cool.
I thought that there was probably a good chance that he would want to, you know, ride, but moving sometimes made it difficult. When we got here, the first couple years, you know, I'd get on the pony and he'd get on the thoroughbred and take him around the track. Then he went to Ocala and then came back and then actually started galloping on the track. You know, when they all start off, they're all pretty green, but he wanted it. He wanted to learn.
After every race, pretty much, I talk to him, and you know, he says, "Oh, you did great," or "You could have done this. Maybe you should have done this." And I think that's why I've been able to get better in the quick amount of time that I have, you know, because he's been a big help.
My agent is Jose Santos Jr. I started off the meet at Lone Star Park in Texas. I actually rode my first winner the first race that I rode at Lone Star. And after that meet, I had rode about 85, 90 horses. He said, listen, this is the plan. We'll go to Monmouth, you'll ride a little bit over there, and then after Monmouth, we'll check out New York. My first stakes winner was for Tina Hurley. It was my 6th winner at Monmouth Park in the Regret Stakes. I was way in the back, and they were flying up front, and I came like maybe 12 lengths out of it and won.
Reclusive from a mile behind is coming fast. Takes the lead for apprentice Christopher Elliott.
The first person I called when I was back in the jockey room was him.
It's very exciting. It is. You know, just in the last year when he started, he accomplished a lot. He got his driver's license, he graduated high school, and he got his jockey's license and got off to riding races. So I'm very proud.
Got to be impressed with Christopher Elliott coming here, and I think he's a rider, a young rider, and this is what the best you can ask for. We've watched him improve with time.
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy. He's not, when you're a young rider, you're not riding a bunch of 1-to-9 shots. So you have to try to overachieve. You have to try to get your horses that aren't necessarily fancy to run better than maybe the public thinks they're going to run. It's not an easy situation.
No, I agree. He does have a very good agent, though, in Jose Santos Jr. as we head down once again to Maggie.
This is a fun field, as you guys were alluding to earlier. We'll begin with the 2 horses that Andy mentioned will likely be the post-time favorites, beginning with number 4 in here, Agalos the Great, a horse I've always been a fan of since his 2-year-old campaign. He looks fantastic. From a physical perspective, in that he is a bigger horse, and he has progressively continued to fill out that frame, just get stronger overall, resplendent coat to him. The thing is, though, he had a cooler on, so a blanket, he just seems a bit agitated today. He got a little hot underneath that cooler, and he's just very, very edgy. Not that he hasn't necessarily been that way before. He can be that way. It's just something that I noted because it's quite cool, and nobody else is warm. As we move on to the outside runner in Caldo Candy, I feel like drawing that outside post, it might be ideal for Caldo Candy. There's some other speed in here, but he will put himself in a forward position, one would think. And now he's kind of third off of that layoff, now stringing these races back to back here for Jimmy Bond, and he looks fantastic. I mean, hands down, he looks like the horse to be best here in the paddock. Always kind of quiet until the rider gets up, then he kind of comes to life, but physically could not ask a horse to look as though they're doing any better than what Caldo Candy does. Then we'll check in with, speaking of speed, a horse that could be the fastest of them all. We'll see what Factually Correct can do off a bit of a layoff. Last time he was embroiled in a Pastel at Laurel, where he was down on the rail. I feel like those types of trips there never win. Before that, incredibly fast pace going back to the Hudson. And I don't know what's happened on September 19th, but before that, his form was pretty good overall. Maybe ultimately he just needed a bit of a respite, and he's coming off one here. He looks fit enough. Sometimes with these older horses, you can rely a little bit on muscle memory. Do want to watch him warm up here, Andy, but I definitely don't mind what I am seeing here from Factually Correct, who on his best days could have this field over the barrel.
Thanks, Mag, and you're not wrong. I mean, the good Factually Correct is a horse that could lead these on a merry chase, and he has those back races, but it's a little hard to trust him off his relatively recent form.
Yeah, he just hasn't been running well, and it's funny that there's a lot of these horses that kind of feel very similar. The 6, the 7, the 8, and maybe even the 1. It's really just going to kind of go down to intent, I think, and what the instructions are, what the rider's plans are. I always defer to an inside horse, not as my pick, but as the horse that will make the front, because they don't have a lot of choice down there.
The thing, though, about the 1 Acoustic Avenue, who does have some speed in this race, is it feels as though they're happy with the recent running style that's been producing good results. And, it's one of the mistakes I think sometimes connections make. It's like they send a horse to lead, and it turns out there was a vicious pace, somebody really went, the horse runs badly. Then they're in a spot where there's no speed, and they say, well, we went last time. We're not going to do it again. We're not going to make that mistake. And that's the day to go. And sometimes they're too result-oriented, whereas a horse that's able to rate and win, maybe they're in a race where they're better off showing speed.
Yeah, and it's funny. The word "sinned" I think is an interesting word because I actually don't think it's ever a great idea to send a horse.
I think sometimes you're in a position where you need to make the lead.
You've
got to get out of
there.
there.
Yeah, you want to be forward. You don't want to take anything away from them. But I think if you start dictating to them where they need to be in a style that they don't necessarily want to be in, I don't think that always works out perfectly.
No, it's interesting to watch dynamics and watch different decisions that people make in here. And obviously, this race was changed because the speed was probably the 2 Mariachi, who ended up coming out, and another horse who was the morning line favorite as Acoustic Avenue, the 1, Jose Lizcano riding for Wayne Potts.
Yeah, as a horse that from the inside I think could win this race, but I do think they would want to be forward and take advantage of this inside draw.
Linda Rice going to need to improve forward move. Christopher Elliott.
Some back numbers, but yeah, like you said, he's going to have to move up.
Agalos the Great would appreciate pace going out for Manny Franco and George Weaver.
Yeah, this one definitely needs the race to kind of fall apart in front, but they're betting this horse.
The number 5 is He's Got It, going out for Jorge Abreu with Eric Hansel.
Needs a similar situation than the horse to the inside of him needs, Agalos the Great. Agalos the Great just happens to be better.
Owned by Donald Place, I believe the son of the former morning line maker, if you go way back, Donald Place.
What?
Factually correct. Rudy Rodriguez, potential speed with Ruben Silvera, an aggressive rider.
Yeah, it's really just going to be about the intent. If Ruben decides to be aggressive, this horse could definitely make the front.
Don't count this one out to be forward as well. Louis Rivera riding for John Kimmel in Icy Flavor.
Yeah, it just feels like a turf horse trying to get some runs.
And closing out the field, the 8 Caldo Candy, who I think we both like, with Kai Barcoa riding for Jimmy Bond.
I like that last race a lot. The pace figures were very fast in there. The final number was fast. Could step up off of that effort, and I like the draw. In a race in which we're all trying to figure out who's going to make the front, doesn't really matter to Caldo Candy. You can just sit off whoever decides to go. If none of them go, then you can inherit the front.
I couldn't agree more. And, as opposed to the 2 Agalos the Great and Acoustic Avenue finished ahead of them, they were picking up pieces. He did all the dirty work in there. But we're looking at the number 4, who we mentioned, Agalos the Great, going out for Rap Racing. Rap Racing is, the Weaver Barn.
I don't know who Rap Racing is, though.
Okay. Well, good thing I asked the question.
Yeah.
It just feels like Agalos the Great is the right horse if you're convinced this race is going to fall apart. But don't you feel a little bit like he needs some help in front, and that's not a great gamble as the favorite?
I can tolerate a closer at a price when I think it's going to fall apart. I have a problem taking a closer at a short price when I don't even know who's going to make the lead.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. And, he did finish ahead of the 8 last time. But I think today the 8 just, I think on paper, rates to get a better field. And I don't think he ran better than the number 8 Caldo Candy did last time.
He gets a better situation, too. Caldo Candy broke slow last time and then still had fast pace figures. So I that race is so much better than I think it looks on paper. And he gets a much better draw here today.
Could not agree more as we head back to Mag.
Take a look at the longest shot on the board, and that is number 7 in here. Icy Flavor could continue the ice trend, as I kind of feel like an icicle out here, as it always does for those last 2 or 3 races here at the Big A, with the sun really going behind the grandstand. But Icy Flavor, yes, you can make the argument that he is better on the turf. He's never won on the dirt, but at times he has run some fast figures on this surface, namely here at Aqueduct. He looks really strong behind the saddle, as Andy pointed out. He's a potential speed presence in here, and I think that is incredibly accurate. Also a horse that might, and I'm talking about a 23-to-1 shot, so take this with a grain of salt. At least in the past, he has shown the propensity to need a start. So yes, we will take the wait-and-see approach with Icy Flavor, but he does need to be mentioned due to his pace that he possesses. And number 1, Acoustic Ave, he is one that, figure standpoint, ran well when you look at it from that viewpoint, but when you watch it visually, I didn't particularly love the way he was finishing up. He was on his wrong lead. Never looked that comfortable either. I think he's a horse, who has a fairly big heart and wants to do it, but he's not one I can ever endorse looking at him as far as the preliminaries are concerned or watching his races. So yes, I will leave Acoustic Ave out, and I've probably just put him right in the winner's circle, as we love to do, Andy.
I've certainly done it my share of times. And we were talking about rap racing. It is, in fact, Rick Pitino, who, despite the fact that they had a tough loss to Villanova this week, he's got New York talking about college basketball for the first time in a while.
Yeah, man, they're cooking. They're really, I mean, winning some big games and in a conference in which, you know, UConn has been dominating. For them to kind of thrust themselves back.
Great
on the
win
stage.
against UConn in UConn the other day.
And I do appreciate the racing connection to St. John's as well with Rick Pitino, obviously Mike Rapoli. So it's good to have the connection.
Rick has been it's funny when Rick Pitino became well known was when Providence in 1988, mid 80s, 88, somewhere in the 80s, went to the Final Four, and everybody said, "Oh, I've seen that guy in Saratoga," and he was going to Saratoga for years. And of course, he's been a fixture there for many years, and he's got St. John's playing extremely well. They were in the top 10 going into last week as they loaded the gate for race number 7. Once again, Chris Griffin will have the call.
Factually correct. Icy flavor. Caldo candy. Caldo candy. Going forward. And in. All set. And they're off. Factually correct with the early speed. It's factually correct right there with icy flavor. Out wider is Caldo Candy. That's the top trio. As they work up the backstretch, it's factually correct. And Ruben Silvera doing it easily. They're up by a length and a half. Icy flavor is going to stalk right there in second. Caldo Candy is the grade to the outside in third. At the rail is Acoustic Ave, is tracking off of these pace setters from the 4th position, and there's Agalos the Great in the red, starts to move forward from 5th. The 2 at the back, that's forward move. With the trailer, he's got it. 23 seconds flat for the opening quarter mile and unopposed, factually correct. Factually correct is still up by a length and a half, and here comes the move from Caldo Candy. At the rail moving through is Acoustic Ave, who's had a nice position, and Agalos the Great has gotten much closer. Agalos the Great is making a move right now, is up on the outside. Acoustic Ave just waiting for room at the rail. Blue Silks, the leader, is still factually correct through a 47-second flat half-mile time. Can factually correct hold him off. Caldo Candy's in the 3-path. Agalos the Great is trying to keep that sustained rally going. Straightens up, and Agalos the Great is trying to sprint away from the rest, is doing just that. Agalos the Great is up by about 3/4 of a length. Caldo Candy gives game chase. Acoustic Ave is at the rail. Factually correct is battling on. Agalos the Great is almost there. Inside the final 16th. Agalos the Great gets the victory. Agalos the Great over Caldo Candy. Acoustic Ave in a late rally from He's Got It to finish 4th in 1 minute 18.45 seconds.
Success on the hardwood and success at the racetrack as Agalos the Great makes a big move around the 5/16 pole and ends up winning fairly comfortably over Caldo Candy.
Yeah, nice confident ride by Manny to not necessarily wait for the race to fall apart, but to be the one who broke the race apart. They weren't going particularly fast up front, and he just ran right into that, took it to him, and at this point it was really never in doubt.
And you have such a strong rider, Manny Franco, and able to sort of get this horse in the race and not be run at the mercy of the pace, you know, making that middle move and making the winning move. And Rick Pitino, when things are going well, they go well. In this particular case, St. John's is winning, and Agalos the Great gets the win for George Weaver, who hasn't run a lot of horses, but he's piling up the wins here. For me, coming in, it was five wins in 5 seconds, 15 starts when I printed these, and probably had more since then.
And arguably one of the most impressive 3-year-olds in the country, and a horse that if we were in a civilized country in which you could bet a race like the Jerkins ahead of time, it'd be a lot of fun to bet a horse like that.
Yeah, no, obviously, who broke his maiden obliquely. Is that his name?
No,
the horse who broke his maiden last Friday.
Oh, no, I was talking about Colloquial.
Colloquial. I'm just Colloquial.
Yeah, you
helped
me. Yeah,
I know how to cue in it. Colloquial. Yes, Colloquial with a huge win here with a 106 buyer last Friday. Horses are on the track for race number 6 at Oakland Park. They're going a flat mile, and if you can find the winner of this race, you are a smarter man than me. As the current favorite is the 9, the 1 Deflator goes out. Kelsey Haar riding for Robert Klein.
Yeah, I mean, not a lot to lean on this one.
Feathers Road try to go long for a second time in a row. David Jacobson riding this New York bred.
Yeah, ran okay last time, honestly. Nice, honest pace figures, honest pace, just got beat at the wire.
The 3 is Man on the Moon, Tom Vance, and Belmere.
Yeah, a horse who's had a couple of starts down on the inside and hasn't seemed to run well, likely to get down there this time as well.
Francisco Arrieta riding Nepal Up for Dan Ward.
Yeah, exit a starter allowance race last time where he was 7-1 but did no running.
10-pound bug rider Amanda Poston on Vanisky.
Yeah, 31-1, 63-1, 94-1, not doing much running.
I'm not going to do something obnoxious with Aloe Henry, the number 6 horse.
I desperately want you to do something obnoxious.
You know, you can pronounce it in a really annoying way. That's going to be a test of announcers if they fall into that trap. The 7 out, run them a big price.
Yeah, a horse that just hasn't done much running.
The 8, Cozy My Boy, Carlos Santamaria.
You know, the pace figures are okay last time, just wasn't finishing the race.
The possible speed of the speed, the 9, Good Like Magic.
We've been talking about last time was the time. It feels like with this one, last time was the
Always
time.
rooting for my friend Norm Cassie, and I know you feel the same way. We'll see how fast the pace is. And we round the field with Go Cats.
Yeah, a horse that chased a pace that wasn't very quick. It feels like this one's going to be a little bit more contested. Another one that feels like maybe last time was the time.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. A tough outside post for that one as well. Mig, you see anything out there interesting?
Yeah, well, let's start with the 2, Feathers Road, guys. You know, this horse ran 11 days ago, was battling back. The concern is when a horse runs as hard as he ran last time, coming back on 11 days, is how much will it affect him. And he was ridden by Ricardo Santana. And one thing about Ricardo Santana, he will get to the bottom of one. He will get every ounce out of them. So, you know, what do you get today? Will this horse regress? Looking at him physically, he looks great. He's carrying good weight, and he is a horse that has a lot of seconds. So maybe he was waiting on competition, and that's why he was able to battle back. I can't fault him physically. I am concerned about the quick turnaround off a very hard race. The 4, Napal Up, made a really nice impression. He did no running last time. He's making his second start for Dan Ward. Looks outstanding physically. If I was just going to pick one from a physical perspective, it would be the 4, Napal Up. As the 6, Aloe Henry, I'm not going to try it either, Andy. I almost did it just to annoy you, but I figure I'll be nice. It's Valentine's Day. This horse is coming off a layoff. Hasn't run since November, Remington Park. I think he should be forward. You get Ramon Vasquez. He looks very fit. I can't, again, fault him physically. I think he looks outstanding as well. And then the 9, Good Like Magic, who's taking a lot of money, comes in off of a win, has speed, get Ricardo Santana. He gets in with 124 pounds off that win, so he's giving weight to most of his rivals here. I wasn't as thrilled with him in the warm-up. I don't know the horse, you know, so maybe I'm being a little harsh on him. Just would have liked to have seen him kind of pick up the bit a little bit more and really jump into the bridle, give me a little bit more energy level. But I think the race is interesting. I would take a little shot with some bigger prices here, like the 4 or the 6, as opposed to your favorites, because I just think there's some question marks here.
I don't disagree with that. I felt there were a lot of question marks in this place. I wondered if the number 6 coming off the layoff, but I hate taking horses that don't necessarily have the best form at Oakland Park. As we get the prices for race number 7 at Aqueduct, Agalos the Great, the favorite, pays $5.10 to win and beats the second choice, Caldo Candy. They combined for an exacta that paid actually pretty generous $9.10 for $1.
It's a sneaky good ride by Manny Franco. You know, it wasn't one of those rides that just stands out, but he made all the right choices in a race with a closer, and a lot of times you have to make those great decisions, and he did that.
Right,
race.
He didn't allow himself to be a victim. He seized the race. His feeling was, I'm riding the best horse. I'm going to ride him like the best horse. And I think sometimes people don't ride the best horse. They ride with the assumption that it doesn't matter what they do, they're going to win, and you got to give them some help. Especially a closer in a race like that, when the horse you have to beat has speed. The pace here, do you think Good Like Magic clears Feathers Road?
Good Like Magic clears Feathers Road. And
because the 10 coming out changes
Yes.
the complexion of the pace.
I do think so. And I think the other reason, too, is like a lot of times it comes, you can look on paper to have a clue of who's faster. But I think ultimately it matters for intent. And a horse like Good Like Magic, who finally got back into the winner's circle in a wire-to-wire win, you'd like to think there'll be a little bit of confidence to send him away from there, that he's going to be comfortable on the front end, which then in turn could potentially make it go a little bit quicker early.
Yeah, you know, I always feel like you have to be careful with sprinters stretching out that run really well that first time going long they often don't seem to come back the second time as do as well. And both Feathers Road and Good Like Magic sort of fit that bill, right? Sprinters that stretched out and ran effectively in their prior starts with a narrow defeat and a win.
It's one of those axioms I've heard before that I'm not as sure that I've ever tried to prove it, but like that the second time they try it, they don't do it. I've heard that about a turf horse too. They might run well on the dirt once, but then when they try to do it again, it doesn't always go that way.
Well, that might be in the category of turf horses like Churchill Downs Dirt. Sort of dumb things that people say about racing that actually have no basis whatsoever in fact. Obviously, occasionally turf horses handle the dirt. For the most part, they don't as they head in the gate for race number 6. Bit of a crapshoot. You've got a lot of horses taking money in here. Matt Ditterman has the call.
And the runners are now facing up to the gate. Deflator, Feathers Road have gone in. Hello Henry, Outrun him, and Cozy My Boy. Good Like Magic. Nepal up, post position 4. 2 back. Viniski. And to the outside post, we wait on Go Cats. Remember, this race will start and end at the 16th pole. Go Cats, go again. We're ready to go. Deflator looks like trying to straighten him out in the gate. Now he's ready. We're ready to go. And we're off. Slow break from Outrun him. Good beginning from Man on the Moon, who's up on the pace. Deflator hard scent. Feathers Road in the mix as well, splitting that pair to take a nose lead. Deflator holds the inside spot, and these two are together as Man on the Moon goes a little wide into that first turn run, but is going to ease off the speed, runs in the 3rd position early. Allo Henry in the 4th spot, then Go Cats. Cozy My Boy, they're side by side. They're 2 ahead of Nepal up, Viniski, and Good Like Magic stretched across the track. Outrun him's at the back of the pack as they approach the backstretch run. Deflator is first and went 23 1/5 seconds to get a clear lead. Opens up 2 on Feathers Road, who gets a breather. Space of 3 lengths back to Allo Henry. Man on the Moon to the outside. Then another pair. It's Cozy My Boy inside of Go Cats as they make their way towards the far turn run, and having to steady there was Go Cats when in tight between horses. Nepal up is down on the inside. He's 6 lengths off the lead going into the turn. Space of 4 more back to Viniski, sent along. Outrun him joins him, and Good Like Magic dropping to the back and not being persevered with. Good Like Magic never picked up his feet today. Remember, this race will end at the 16th pole, and Feathers Road cruises to the front. Sammy Camacho Jr. says go, and Feathers Go went to the front, opens up 2.5. Deflator being pumped upon but losing position in the 2nd spot. Go Cats is under pressure. Cozy My Boy trying to pick off rivals at the top of the lane. He gets to the outside as they come down the lane. Cozy My Boy. Here comes Nepal up between horses. These two gathering good momentum. Far outside, it's Cozy My Boy. Nepal up inside, punching forward, having to take up late Allo Henry, and Nepal up's going to win. Nepal up won it over Cozy My Boy, then Feathers Road and Deflator.
Dan Ward and Francisco Arrieta team up for a well-timed move as Nepal up wins a race where it felt like both the 1 and 2 had kind of stopped going around the turn, and they end up finishing 2nd and 4th or 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, Nepal up is one who was claimed for $10,000 back in December, moves to the barn of Dan Ward. Dan tried to run him in a starter allowance, showing some confidence. That didn't work out. Drops him back in for a tag and gets the win.
Dan was a longtime assistant for trainer Jerry Hollendorfer, went on his own about a year or 2 ago. He's done very, very well in here. It does seem like the number 8 who finished 2nd here, is it possible he came over? Because I saw the 6 kind of drop back sharply, so we'll keep our eyes open and see if there is an inquiry there. But don't think the 4, Nepal up, did anything wrong. He is the winner. Well, it's the time for those top 3-year-olds, the 2-year-olds of 2024 to start showing up. And one of them, East Avenue, is going to make his 3-year-old debut in the Risen Star at Fairgrounds tomorrow. Welcome back to America's Day at the Races. As we continue with the action, just one more to go here at Aqueduct. We've still got 4 races to go at Oakland Park as well. Jonathan Kinchin and Andy Serling. We do have an inquiry at Oakland. Does not involve the winner. It feels like it could involve the 2nd and 3rd finisher, the 8 and the 2. If anything, we thought maybe the 2 came out and caused some interference.
Yeah, if anything, I would think maybe 2, but it didn't look too drastic.
I agree.
We'll see.
It didn't seem that absolute, but we'll let you know what happens there when we get the results of that inquiry. But once again, does not seem to involve the winner, the number 4, Nepal Up. Big field for the Risen Star. Now, important to know that the number 2, Jonathan's Way, will not be playing in there. One horse that's coming out, and a horse who was probably going to be maybe even a bigger second choice than his 4-to-1 line. It's going to make East Avenue a heavy favorite. Obviously, East Avenue, when he's able to strut his stuff, is capable of running a very fast race. Is he going to be a major player? And what do you think about him making his return as a 3-year-old at 1 1/8 miles?
Well, I think from a pedigree standpoint, that's not too concerning. He's got a nice foundation. I'm sure that Brendan is worried about the same thing that you're thinking about, and has probably put some pretty stiff, significant works into him. I think the biggest question is, well, why do you think he ran so poorly in the Breeders' Cup? And for me, I think he broke a little slowly. I think Tyler got extremely conservative after that and basically wrapped up on the horse.
He's breaking from the rail, and I mean, his race is over once he stumbles like that, especially when that happens. And it's, one of these stumbles where sometimes you stumble forward. This would affect him dramatically, and then you find good horses walking on the front end. His race was over before they hit the turn.
Yeah, he never, after that point, he never disappointed me as if he was asked to do something and didn't respond. I really just feel like Tyler wanted to make sure he's okay, wrapped up on him, realized he wasn't going to get there, and said, we'll get him as a 3-year-old.
Do you think the horse who's going to be the second choice, Built, is a major, major competitor for this one? I feel as though if East Avenue runs his race, he's going to easily beat that rival, Built, who I don't particularly like.
I don't think Built's style is a style that you want to go against a horse like East Avenue. Maybe if Built had a different style.
What about American Promise in the rail for Wayne Lucas? I thought he ran sneaky well in the Southwest, but he's coming back on relatively short rest.
Yeah, but that's what you're going to get with D. Wayne in these spots, right? You're gonna, if he's got one that's ready to go, they're going to run. And sometimes that works out, but more often than not, in my opinion, it doesn't.
Yes, if they can survive. And they did clear the board at Oakland, so we're waiting to see if there was, in fact, a change. The unofficial order had been 4, 8, 2, 1, 11, but they took the 2 down, and they made it 4, 8, 1, 11 is going to be the soon-to-be official order of finish. The notable winners, of course, Sierra Leone, who just lost that Derby by a nose, Epicenter, who had a tremendous 3-year-old year, Mandaloon, who won the Derby on a DQ, War of Will, who won the Preakness, Gervin, who's proven to be a nice sire and won the Haskell, Gunrunner, I think you've heard of him, and Mucho Macho Man, who eventually won the Breeders' Cup Classic and was an exceptional racehorse. A pretty nice roster of winners to that Risen Star.
Very productive, very productive. And I think that when they moved the Louisiana Derby to 1 3/16 miles, I think that a lot of people like that route of answering that question earlier than the first Saturday in May.
And also the timing, right? It gives people more, if they're going to use it, then they've got 6 weeks going forward to 6-7 weeks for the last preps for the Derby. So it's worked out well, and it's worked out well for them. As America's Day at the Races continues, we've got one more to come at Aqueduct. That's the 8th and final race, and those are maidens going 6.5 furlongs. Much more when we come back on America's Day at the Races.
Was Full Count Felicia, never in doubt.
Coming down to the finish, First World War. Fort Washington on the outside. They're coming down to the line, and Goliad does it.
Warfront, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Horse racing? Check. Weekly promotions? Got 'em. Huge payouts? You bet. With Naira Bets. Download the app today and bet on any track, anywhere, anytime with live HD horse races, betting tips and tutorials, expert picks, and more. You bet with Naira Bets. Join now for a new member bonus at NairaBets.com.
The only colt ever to win 3 1-mile Grade 1s on dirt. ran the fastest buyer of the year. That's him, 6 wide, streaking clear.
Here comes Cody's
2 more grade 1s at 7/8. Here's his 4-go, also running a 112 bite. That's 5 grade 1s all told. No other son of Sires Curlin has so many. They say, be careful what you wish for. We agree.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. RTN has packages that start at $5 per month.
You don't need to be a math whiz to interpret the numbers associated with Freud. His runners have earned more than $73 million. Turf runners earning more than $27 million of that total, and he sired 74 black-type winners. No wonder sequel owner Becky Thomas thinks of him as royalty.
He's the king of New York because he is a royally bred son of Stormcat, the foal to Giants Causeway, impeccable pedigree.
The New York State Thoroughbred Breeding and Development Fund has paid out nearly $4 million in Stallion awards to the syndicate that owns Freud, and breeders have been rewarded with more than $9.2 million in award money through 2023. Thanks to sequel Stallion manager taking a new approach with Freud, he is even more professional now in the breeding shed than he was in the past.
We also did change the method of breeding with him. Instead of the chain, we actually breed him with a bit. He is sensitive in his mouth a bit more than the youngsters, and that actually made a big difference as well in the shed.
Welcome back to America's Day at the Races. The New York Bred program, and New York Bred program is such a great part of the racing here. It's an important part of the racing we have here, and I really can't say enough about the New York Breds, who can compete at the highest of high levels, obviously, and have done so in the past as we head into the paddock for race number 8. And we will see these New York Breds going 6.5 furlong maiden claimers. And no surprise, Maggie, a lot of early money coming in for a My Racehorse runner intellectual.
Don't have to be an intellectual to surmise that that was going to be the case when he shows up here for Christophe Clement making his debut. And as we just watched that piece on Freud can be a good influence, especially on the turf. And on the bottom side, this horse is a fool to Orange Freeze, who was best on the turf. And looking at him, a little bit more of the proverbial turf hoof. But there's been some other siblings that have been able to run well enough on the main track, but he has a very flat foot, very angular pastern. But I'll say this, he comes in here looking ready. He is fit. He was really on the muscle when he first walked down here. He's settled a bit since getting the tack on, but this is a pretty full field, and I don't know, to just default to this first-time starter for these connections that obviously ownership might be investing in their money here, as they rightfully should, is hurting your price. A horse that really caught my eye is one that has confirmed speed, and that's number 9, Run with Honor. I did not see him last time out win against Open Company in that restricted maiden optional claimer. But Run with Honor is a horse that first time he was really, really sharp, kind of antsy and a little bit nervous, and today beautifully settled as he does turn back slightly here in distance from the 7 to the 6.5, and he just looks phenomenal. I wish he actually was a little bit more energetic. He's actually very, very quiet here, but just physically fit, strong, great coat to him, just all things you want to see in a maiden claimer with these horses. But Andy, there are some horses that are taking some drops in class that also could pose a threat.
Yeah, it's interesting here, and thank you, Maggie, with the one taking this money, because the entry was 2-1 in the morning line, but that was because of the 1A, not because of the first-time starter. And I just never know what to do, because My Racehorse horses always take a ton of early money.
Yeah, I mean, I think let's explain that for people watching. The micro-share ownership group that is My Racehorse, there's a lot of different owners. So if you think about it, if there's, there could be thousands of owners. If they bet $5 to win on their horse, that's a pretty significant impact into a win pool on a Friday at Aqueduct. And that's what happens, and that's why they often are shorter prices than they might seem like they should be on paper.
Make no mistake, we appreciate them betting. So
no,
we're
of course.
glad to see them betting in here.
Of course, but it just
the horse.
if you're understanding, it happened. But it's not just a My Racehorse thing. It was a West Point thing as well, and it can happen in lots of different.
But
scenarios.
as you say, with My Racehorses, micro shares, there's a lot of people who in the ownership group, as they say, and these horses, they're going to take money whether they're alive or not. So I don't know what the money really means. And as Maggie said, there's a lot more turf in the pedigree. The one thing about the 9 Maggie was talking about, who I do have as my third choice after scratches, his last race, he was on a gold rail on December 27th. I think it makes his effort look better than it was. And his prior effort, which was good, was on a muddy seal track.
Yeah, well, I mean, those are two performances that don't give you much trust at a horse who's the third choice on the board right now, fourth choice.
I agree, and we'll see how things settle in this race. And as we get closer, the 5 taking some money, moving up in class. But we will start with the 1 intellectual going out for Christophe Clement with Eric Cancel.
I mean, this horse could certainly win. It's not a group full of killers, but just a little bit shorter of a price than I would prefer.
Free Dance down on the inside, going out for our man Ray Handel with Romero Mirage.
This Rum in the Land, experience and a horse who's dropping for maiden special weight.
The number 3 Rum K, Linda Rice, are key, going out with Jose Lescano.
Yeah, as good of a trainer as Linda is, only 11% in her career with first-time starters.
After Silly Key and Long Haul Bay, some very good runners. The 4 Rockstar Rebel, Charlie Baker.
Yeah, another one who has some experience, is dropping in from maiden special weight, and did take some money at a couple of those starts.
9 and 4 should have broken his maiden first time out for Rudy Rodriguez and Ruben Silvera.
Yeah, just didn't break well. You don't know if it's him or if it was just that situation.
He had some real trouble. The horse I like is the 7 Easy Bourbon, who was involved in a very tough pace in a very strong maiden special.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I just hate the fact that he was 37-1 last time, but it was in a maiden special weight race.
The 8 Celtic Prince going out with Kerry Bryan.
Yeah, gets the blinkers and Lasix for the first time.
The 9 Run with Honor, Jeremiah Englehart and Louis Rivera.
Talked about this one. It feels like last time or the time before that might have been the time. But even though they didn't win.
And Christopher Elliott rounds out the field, riding for Ralph D'Alessandro on King Solomon.
Yeah, not taking much money, drawn towards the outside there. 8% trainer with first-time starters.
The 5, 9, and 4 comes out of a weaker maiden race last time out, but I think it's really important to show the star of this race, not just the pan, but the head-on as well, because a horse who, in losing by a length, I think you'll agree, Jonathan, should have been in the winner's circle.
Yeah, the one issue I have with this, we've talked about it before, with these situations is nowadays, with being able to watch replays on Naira Bets and it being more of a norm for handicappers, a lot of people saw this. It's not nearly the secret that it used to be 20, 30 years ago. The problem is I think people overreact because my fear is, did the race kind of fall into his hands based on the fact that he broke slowly? That's the first question. The second one is, did he break slowly because he was a first-time starter, or is this who he is and he's going to do it again? And at 7-2, I would prefer that price be doubled to try to answer those questions.
Especially in a much tougher field. And this is a tougher bunch with horses dropping down that have run somewhat competitively the race he was in. And I think it's a valid point. Yes, he got sloughed after the start. But the trouble began because he got left. If he hadn't gotten left, he might not have had the same kind of trouble. Now, it works both ways. Sometimes we see horses in their first start, they don't break very well, and they break incredibly sharply. But sometimes these are horses that habitually don't break out of the gate.
It's usually that they're just trying to figure it out. Usually.
I agree. Which way are you going, Maggie? Is he going to learn from his first race?
Well, I'll tell you exactly why he broke like that first time out. Because he had an extension blinker on. And horses just routinely break poorly when they're wearing that in a race, whether they have run before or, like him, they haven't, when they apply that extension blinker. So second time around here, we'll see if he does break better with it. You know, I don't like to see a horse automatically showing up with an extension blinker no matter who they are. So if you like him, fine. He ran well enough first time out, and there's every reason to believe that, yes, he will break a bit better. But again, that extension blinker covering their right outside eye prohibits them from ultimately seeing those doors open clearly. So you're always going to be teetering on the fence of am I going to break with the pack or not? Number 7 in here, Easy Bourbon. I'm with you, Andy. Look, this could be one of those horses, and we'll find out today, because despite being 37-1, I really liked his appearance first time out in that maiden special weight, and made sure I took good notes on him, and he showed that early speed. But sometimes horses that look great, look the part, but sometimes they just can't run. So I feel like this will be the determining factor, because now he gets the class relief too, but makes an excellent impression, and that is a more than generous price on a drop-down runner at 15-1. Other first-time starter is number 3, Rum K at 7-1 here for Linda Rice. Has a lovely pedigree, Silly Key, Long Haul Bay, Midnight Transfer, all stakes winners. But the dam's getting up there in age. She of 2025 is 26 years old, so had this one at 23. Typical Linda, though, while he looks very much of that line, smaller, short coupled, dirt sprinter, looks like he'll need a start, Andy.
Well, that's often the case with Linda Rice's firsters, and interesting what Maggie had to say is the dam does get older, but as she said, there are some good ones in that pedigree, and some horses had some speed as well. They're getting my 7 horse in the gate, who I think is an outrageous overlay at 15-1, now 16-1. We're concluding the day with race number 8, or at least concluding here at Aqueduct. Chris Griffin, one more call for him today.
Run with Honor. King Solomon to the outside. King Solomon going forward. And in. All set. And they're off. Slow beginning for Rockstar Rebel at the back end of the field. Quick start for Run With Honor. Run With Honor right to the front is the lone leader, and here at the rail, Rum K is going to try and move on through and hold that position, and will. Joining them, 3 across the racetrack will be Celtic Prince, and these 3 hook up across the racetrack, and they are quickly now 4.5, 5 in front of the rest of the field. In pursuit there from the 4th position will be 9 and 4. Also moving forward is Easy Bourbon. After that slow beginning, and Rockstar Rebel is moving forward quickly, having to work to get there through a 22 and 4 quick opening quarter mile. They are very strung out as the leaders really get away. The leader is now Rum K and Celtic Prince. They're 1-2. Losing some ground was Run With Honor. Trying to make up ground is Rockstar Rebel. Just past 9 and 4. It's now 4th and 5th. It's a big gap back to Free Dance. It's another huge gap towards Easy Bourbon. And at the back end of the field there comes King Solomon. Is far back there with Rum K as Rum K is the leader. Rum K is in front, is up by a full length. There's Celtic Prince continuing to challenge, and Rum K is finding more. Rum K is still a half length in front, continuing to duke it out here with Celtic Prince. 9 and 4 is trying to join them from 3rd. These two shoulder to shoulder inside the final 16th. Celtic Prince is in front, 9 and 4, rolling from way out of it. Free Dance. But Celtic Prince will win the finale. Celtic Prince wins it over the oncoming Free Dance. Rum K was in there, also 9 and 4, and Rockstar Rebel. Final running time, 1 minute 20 and 4.
Of all the first-time, second-time stars in this race, the one that seemed the least interesting was probably Celtic Prince. Now, he did get bet in his debut, but that was in the field the 5 came out of, and he did no running. A completely different horse with Lasix and blinkers on today in what was an extraordinarily fast pace that ultimately never fell apart.
Yeah, I mean, in situations like this, I try to take a lesson from it to try to understand what I missed, and I guess you pointed it out. The horse took money on debut, got blinkers, and got Lasix, and those 3 things, I think, are the reason why this horse ran better here today.
He did have some trouble that day, and I do believe that my friend Kirk Wyckoff, who owns 3 Diamonds, told me he liked this horse first time out, but this is a tougher spot today. I hope if they liked first time, they bet today. I could never have had this horse, but he was a very, very different horse in his second start.
He certainly was.
I mean, I know he had some trouble that day, but I didn't really think he ran well. And that, I mean, 22.98, 46.91 for this level of horse. It's remarkable that nobody could pick them up at the end.
They're running.
I don't want the 2 Free Dance going forward. He should have won today.
So far out of it. I mean, came running late, but I think it might be an illusion just because they were slowing down so much.
Let's show the star of the race. As it felt like the number 3, Rum K, who ran very well, the Linda Rice first-time starter, finishing 3rd in here. didn't break. Actually, he broke okay. You know, both these horses ran well. I think it looked like they didn't break as well because the 9 broke as sharply as he did. But they really pushed him up. And you can see Jose Lozcano really aggressive getting the 3 in front. He ran a winning race, to be honest with you. It's just he took pressure from a horse who ran a better race today.
Yeah, I mean, he sure did. He really turned it around, and that's what happens when you have these young horses. They can kind of make some adjustments, and these trainers are good for a reason. They know how to do things that can change how a horse will perform. That's exactly what happened with this horse, the 8 Celtic Prince. Didn't run particularly well first time out, but ran much better here.
We'll take a break here. We'll come back. Still some action to go at Oakland Park as race number 7 coming up there as well. America's Day at the Races continues. Welcome back to America's Day at the Races as we see Manny Franco in the winner's circle yet again, a place he is very familiar with being throughout what has been a terrific career and continues to be a terrific career for him. An aggressive ride on Celtic Prince. Kerry Bryan getting the win, 3 Diamonds Farm, and Manny Franco, $30. I didn't have him, but if you did, not a bad way to end the day.
No, not at all. I'd imagine that it's a nice way to kind of close out some of these multis.
Excuse me, and he did it the hard way. I mean, these 2 horses were moving up front. That is a wildly fast pace, especially at this level. Excuse me, horses on the track for race 7 at Oakland Park. A starter allowance going 1 mile and a 16th. And this seems to be a much stronger field. This is a solid group of runners. There are a couple of scratches, but we'll start out with the horse in the rail, Mandolin Wind. Well, I guess we'll wait for them to make the turn. But I thought this was a pretty competitive bunch, Jonathan.
No, I thought so too. I thought this was a good group, and these starter allowances can often be like that. Mandolin Wind makes a lot of sense. This horse ran extremely well last time going 2 turns.
Yep, he is the number 1 as we went by, Mandolin Wind. The number 2, Keen Cat, goes out for Randy Morse with Francisco Arrieta, looking for another winner.
Another one who ran well, going the 9 furlongs, gets the cut back here 3 races back ran well going 7, so maybe this is going to hit him right between the eyes.
The 3 Empire Builder goes out for Armando Hernandez. He could be the speed.
Absolutely. 2 races back makes sense. He just didn't run well last time.
He's not named for me, but he is named Truculent. Manny Esquivel riding for Lindy Schultz.
Probably just a taste too slow for this group.
The 5 Huge Bigly, Aaron Shorter and Christian Torres went by, and the 6 Maximus Magic for Norm McKnight.
Yeah, 2-time winner at Oakland. Ran well last time at 54-1.
Auto Glide, Greg Compton, and Julian Leperoux.
Yeah, another one who I thought ran extremely well last time. Just have a hard time trusting closers at short prices.
Well, when you see What's Up, Doc, you might think Bugs Bunny. I think the Peter Bogdanovich movie. He's a nice runner we used to see in New York.
I definitely think Bugs Bunny.
Yeah, that's because you're just not into movies like I am. And everybody knows Ryan O'Neal, Barbara Streisand, Madeline Kahn, a great movie in San Francisco from back in the 70s. And the 10, Tornado Road, a long shot, rounds out the field.
Much deeper waters. Ran from maiden 32 back, maiden 20 last time.
We'll get more from the MIG.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. And just to follow up on the 3 Empire Builder, you know, one thing as a rider, you handicap horses, you handicap other riders. And one thing you usually can count on, Rocco Bowen being aggressive. So this horse has speed. He chased a very fast pace last time. I could see Rocco kind of going all in early with the 3 Empire Builder. He is a rider that is aggressive. Talking horses now. The 1 Mandolin Win, it looks outstanding. Good inside drawer. You get Joey Belmire. You're getting a 5-pound break in the weights. Comes off a very game effort. But does he get caught up in too much of a pace, particularly with that inside draw? He should take advantage of it to save ground. Looks outstanding physically on the racetrack. The 2 Keen Cat also making a really nice impression. Like the way he warmed up. You get Francisco Arrieta for Randy Morse, and I think this horse is definitely a player here. The 9 What's Up, Doc, he would get the absolute check mark from an appearance standpoint. Looks outstanding, and I get the feeling he is going to trip out. I think he's the horse that's going to get the good stalking trip, not leaving himself too much to do under Rafael Bejarano for Chris Hartman. And then the horse Tornado Road, who definitely has to get faster. He has been avoided claim the last 2 starts. That's not usually a vote of confidence, if you will. Doesn't have a good post, but boy, Wayne Lucas's horses always look good, and this horse looks outstanding, but he does not match up physically with what I'm seeing on paper, guys.
Yeah, the Tornado Road is frankly a massive underlay at 14-1 in this race based on his PPs. Where are you going here, Jonathan?
You know, I thought the 7 was interesting, but not at that price. I'm going to go towards the inside. I'm going to take the 1 Mandolin Wind.
All right. Give us the story.
Yeah, it's just a horse that, like, for me, the inside post position. The last 2 races I thought have been pretty darn good. Has pace to kind of work himself out, get himself into the mix a little bit. And I'm hoping he can just hold that inside position and just kind of take him on a merry trace all the way around there.
Now, here's his race where he finished 2nd behind Huge Bigly, the 5 he meets today. Aren't you worried, though, there's more speed in here and he could get a little outrun early?
Yeah, I'm hopeful that the reason that happened was the mud and the 9.5 furlongs. Maybe just a little bit longer than he wants to go.
But he's a horse that's won rating before. He doesn't need the lead to win.
And I think he'll finish. You know, I mean, I think he finished well enough in this spot at a distance that maybe doesn't hit him between the eyes. He's never won on an off track before, so maybe he didn't appreciate that either. So the big thing's going to matter, though, what happens with the 1 and the 2 on the inside, because the 2 has a little bit of speed, at least showed it last time. Does the 1 get loose, or does the 2 challenge?
What about the 3? You don't think he could be forward in here?
No, absolutely.
Yeah, I feel as though there's going to be some pace at least in here. We'll see how things play out. I'm curious to see how What's Up Doc does in here. It comes off a win for Chris Hartman, but I think he's running in a tougher spot today. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, if the pace materializes, he can certainly win. He's a little bit lighter on numbers from what some of these have been running, but if the pace is high, then it's not going to really matter. He should be able to make up a couple of the figure points that he needs to be able to get the job done.
Boy, has he improved since going into Chris Hartman's barn. I mean, you look at the numbers that he has run versus the numbers he was running before that. He's just a different horse in the Hartman barn, a barn that wins a lot of races.
And this is his comfort zone. If you look through all his races, this is what he kind of does. He kind of takes back a little bit, circles the field, comes finishing in the middle of the track, projects to get that exact same trip here today.
But I agree with you. He is meeting a tougher group of horses than he's been running against, and I think it's going to make his job a little bit tougher in here.
No, certainly. And And it's dirt racing is obviously a game that in a normal scenario plays a little bit more friendly to horses that are forward. Not saying the horses from out of it can't win and they won't win, but they just need a little bit more to go their way in order for that to work.
Right. I think that's something that gets lost on a lot of players. You know, you hear them talk about horses that take late money and their odds drop, and how often those horses go to the lead. It's not something sinister. It's that players, serious players, the CAW players, they're going to frequently be focusing in, especially in dirt races, on speed horses. So they're betting horses that have early speed. So it's not surprising they often have horses going to the front.
Yeah, just betting with the last second. They want to know. They want to know where they're at.
Right. The problems are the late odds switches are a problem in the game, and it's something. Now, to be fair, you can look at double prices, and usually at a place like Oakland, you'll know there's a horse that's 4-1 or 5-1 and is the second choice in doubles, and that horse is probably going to take a late punch. So there are ways to at least give yourself a reasonable idea. But I do understand the frustration. But as far as the reason a lot of those horses take late punches, go to lead, is because very frequently they are horses with early speed because, as you said, early speed has dominated dirt racing for the most part for a long, long time.
No, it just happens that the money comes on horses that are likely winners, and it just so happens in dirt races, like you said, likely winners are usually forwardly placed.
They're forwardly placed. They don't get a lot of dirt kicked in their faces. And the other thing about speed horses, especially if they're tractable, they can dictate the race. Horses from behind, they may win, they may get the pace to close into, but a horse that's a closer is never going to be able to dictate the way the race is run. And if you're a horse that can dictate the terms of a race, if you're good enough, it's going to always give you a tactical advantage as they head in the gate for race number 7 at Oakland. One more time for Matt Dinnerman.
What's up, Doc? Tornado Road to the outside post. Kicking off the late pick 4 here, a good starter allowance race. We're ready to go. Looks like they're straightening out one of the runners in the gate. Looks like the 5 Huge Bigley. And now the 1 Mandolin Wind a little stirred up. Now settling down. Looks like we're about ready. Now they're going to straighten out Huge Bigley again, back him out. And reload Huge Bigley. And they're off. Uneventful start. Empire Builder right to the lead here from Maximus Magic and Auto Glide, who takes a hold. King Cat in the 3rd position early, moving up on the heels of the leader as they go into the first turn run. Empire Builder is paving the way. Auto Glide moving up to come and challenge. A 3 deep What's Up Doc not far off. Empire Builder still the leader as they approach the backstretch run. King Cat in the 4th position, gap of 2 to Maximus Magic with Truculent to his inside. Another 2 lengths back to Mandolin Win with Huge Bigley and Tornado Roads at the back of the pack as they make their way up the backstretch. Empire Builder, the pacemaker, a half length from Auto Glide in 2nd. Keen Cat on a snug hold. He's a little bit keen here, taking the 3rd position with What's Up Doc. Gap of 2 lengths back to Truculent. He's in the 5th position, ahead of a line of 3. Maximus Magic, Huge Bigley, and Mandolin Wind inside of that pair. Tornado Road is still at the back as they hit the half-mile pole. And the pacemaker is still Empire Builder. Went 24-1 the first quarter, the half in 48-4. Not a fast pace at all here as Empire Builder rounds the turn a half length in front of Auto Glide, who's right there. Keen Cat remains on the rail 3rd while patiently ridden. He's got horse. What's Up Doc's in an all-out drive here. Then comes Truculent. Huge Bigley sent along hard as they hit the quarter pole. Empire Builder at the top of the stretch, still in front of Auto Glide. Keen Cat finds a seam on the rail, and he got a dream run up the rail. King Cat and Francisco Arrieta. What a move there from him. He got the dream opening, and that was the race right there. A furlong left to go. We could shut off the microphone at this point because this race is over. We'll announce the minor awards here, but King Cat has run away from him. King Cat wrapped up, giving Arrieta 2. Empire Builder holding off Auto Glide for 2nd. Huge Bigley 4th.
Not a lot of movement in race number 7, but watching the race, It was pretty obvious that Keen Cat had a load of horse sitting behind the leader.
Yeah, look, he broke well. The horse was inside. The horse that I picked, the one Mandolin Wind, did not break well. Keen Cat held that position, and when the real running started at the top of the stretch, it was a matter of jumps before he was well in front.
Public made the right favorite here, as this horse an easy winner and another win for Francisco Arrieta. And Randy Morse, who's enjoying a terrific meet. He's been doing very well in the last few years at Oakland Park, already having at least his ninth win, because I printed these PPs a couple of months ago. So he's got at least 9 wins in the meet. I slightly exaggerate, but only slightly. Well, I'm leaving you, but the bad news for you is we're just getting started. We got a big weekend ahead of us.
Do we? A lot?
You're going to be here with me a little bit tomorrow. I think you're not here Sunday, but we got a full day together Monday. We got the Talking Horses show. We got the show here.
And the train ride home, hopefully.
So the nice thing for you is you'll get a little bit of Maggie before you have to suffer through it with me the rest of the weekend. We appreciate you joining us in the show, but we're not done yet. GW's girl going to looking to win back-to-back stakes in tomorrow's Dixie Belle. She won the Mockingbird. Now she'll try to win the Dixie Belle. America's Day at the Races. I'm leaving, but the show goes on.
September yearling sale, the premier thoroughbred auction venue in the world, Mandy Pope of Whisper Hill Farm signed the ticket on the $5 million sale topper by Curlin, bred by Stone Street Thoroughbred Holdings. He was one of $5 million plus yearlings by Curlin to sell. No fewer than 55 of his yearlings fell to the auction gavel, averaging nearly $600,000, making Curlin the #1 sire of yearlings in 2024. Curlin, the classic sire.
It's America's original sport, and no one covers it better than americasbestracing.net. From the sport to the lifestyle, the best races, horses, and destination venues, cocktails, gambling, fashion, and more. americasbestracing.net is a sport for you.
Comes that big gray Tappet Trice right down the outside.
Tappet Trice wins the Toyota Bluegrass. Tappet Trice's 2024 debut was awesome.
Tappet Trice is lunging. Tappet Trice wins the Woodward.
I love this stallion barn because this is where we house all of our stallions. And it's a favorite amongst everyone that comes on tour because they get to meet and greet some of their favorite horses that they saw race or are fans of their progeny. So this is Midnight Lou. So these boys are always expecting a mint. Yes, they know when we're coming, don't ya? On these tours. Of course, Loggins is our newest stallion. So son of Go Zapper. Yes, I know. Very handsome, very youthful looking. I like to come when the stallions are coming in from their paddocks. So I get to see them all parade in, and Violence comes in every day, very proud. So I enjoy watching them come in and go into their different stalls, and that happens around noon each day. Violence, I would say, stands the proudest, looks the tallest, even though he's not. If you wanted to draw a picture-perfect stallion, this is what you'd draw a picture of. He's a beautiful stallion. A little bit aggressive. Clean your mouth out, charlatan. You're messy. This is Charlatan. They call him Charlie in the barn. That's his nickname. So, fun fact about him. Full of personality.
And here is the horse of the year, Go Zapper.
Of course, he's a legend of the barn. He's 24 years old. We had no intention of moving our stallion division here when we first purchased Alapa. And when the decision was made to move the whole operation here, we had 6 months to be out of the Lexington facility. So we had to construct that breeding shed and get all of these paddocks up so that we were ready for breeding season for our stallions. So I would say that Good Magic is probably the kindest, gentlest stallion in the barn. We're really proud of Good Magic and excited about his future. Of course, he had Mage win the Kentucky Derby in his first crop. We look forward to everything that's coming up from this guy. Curlin! Here, buddy. Hi, handsome. So here's Curlin. Consider him the king of the barn. Hi. It's great for me to do tours because when I do give a tour, the fans are so blown away and they just say wow constantly that it's a good reminder for me every day to appreciate it.
Gotta say, I'm a little jealous of Mrs. Secura there, hanging out with all those legendary sires at Hillendale, of course, at Alapa. Welcome back to the program. It's America's Day at the Races, and I'm Maggie Wolfendale. I'm pleased to be joined here with Jonathan Kinchin, and thanks for sticking out with us, even though Andy left. I know many of you very sad.
Oh, I'm the saddest person.
I know.
It's devastating.
Kleenex.
Yeah. That's something I've been dreaming about is spending a Valentine's with Andy, and he left, and I'm a little bit heartbroken, but I think I'll figure it out.
I'll be here to cheer you up,
Thanks,
JK.
Max.
Don't worry. As we do owe you some prices from Oakland Park. Their 7th race in the book here, JK. And we saw, hold on, I gotta scroll, number 2, who is Keen Cat riding the rail, getting up here in the shadow of the wire.
Shortest way around there is down on the inside, just a little bit of geometry, but I don't think Keen Cat needed any of the ground that was saved. Absolutely exploded in the stretch and won for absolute fun.
Yeah, and a winner here for Randy Moore's Francisco Arrieta getting the job done and winning by open lengths in the end here in this starter allowance. So, yeah, pretty strung out field. When they're strung out like that, you know it's a good effort. Wins at 5-2.
Yeah, no, look, he had broke well from the inside. He broke from the 2-hole and held that position, took that position, saved ground. Like I said, I think when you can save that much ground, it does impact how far you win by, but I feel very confident that he was winning no matter what.
Race number 8 coming up next. Interesting one here. Maiden optional claimer, 75,000 mile and a 16th. Did see the defection of Surfin' M, and early on, pretty wide open board, 7-2 on number 7. Tough customer as well as La Hooligan. Well, coming up tomorrow, we will have some stakes action from Oakland Park as well. It is the Dixie Belle Stakes, and GW's Girl installed at 7-5 on the morning line. She'll be coming in here off the back of a win in the Mockingbird Stakes, and she was able to reel in the favorite here. She's So Spicy, who would return in her next start, albeit on the turf, JK, to win with an 86 buyer. She did go pretty fast, and GW's Girl capitalized on it, but nonetheless, she ran pretty well to win here.
Yeah, I mean, look, I like to look at Timeform US where they rate the early fractions, red being fast, blue being slow. GW's Girl was closing into red fractions, which makes me think that she kind of got a bit of a setup. Man, she did it impressively, and if she can take another step forward, that was her first race in 90 days. Now she comes back to run second off a layoff. We'll see how she handles her second start on the dirt.
It was also her first start on the dirt for this daughter of Munning. So at least showing some promise and some future here on this surface as well. We'll see if there's some other pace contenders that set things up for her again or not. A horse that's actually turning back in distance, though, is on the outside for our good friend Tom Amos. That is You'll Be Back. She's coming off a runner-up performance in the year's end as we welcome Richie back in here. Did you catch up with Tom Amos? Hopefully you caught up with him by phone, Richie, so we don't have to interview him again. No, I'm kidding.
Actually, Maggie, yeah, Tom and I texted earlier today and talking about You'll Be Back. And, watching the replay of the race, and Tom pointed it out. She got a bit keen, especially into the far turn. and he just felt like she didn't make the transition from sprinting to routing as well. And that's why he thought turning her back was a prudent thing to do. And I agree. I mean, and also if you look at it from a pedigree standpoint, and there is a depth of pedigree on the female side. The Grand Dam, Aurora, really well-bred, very fast filly, trained, I believe, by Scotty Schulhofer back in the day. And she's well drawn outside. Christian Torres, she should just get a really nice stalking trip from the outside. And listen, Tom wins at a high percentage and has won as many races as he has throughout his career by being practical about his horse's abilities and what they want to do best. You know, there's two parts of being a horse trainer, right? Obviously the horsemanship side, getting horses prepared, having them ready, but then the management side and placing them in positions, putting them in positions to succeed, not fail. You can have a horse doing great. You run them in the wrong spots, you know what the result's going to be.
And that's why Tom wins at such a high percentage perennially, year in and year out. Richie, thank you. Looking forward to what You'll Be Back does, turning back in distance tomorrow. As we'll take a look here at the Oakland Park State schedule. Of course, their road to the Kentucky Derby. Next stop is the Rebel, coming up the following Saturday on the 22nd. Honeybee, of course, Kentucky Oaks Prep 2. As well as a plethora of other stake races, handicap division with the Razorback too. So looking forward to the Rebel, JK. Any early thoughts? You know, it sounds like Barnes could be going there for Bob Baffert.
Yeah, it reminds me of when he had American Pharoah, Bob Baffert. He decided to send American Pharoah because he felt like he had the mind to be able to handle it. I think he kept Dortmund at home, but sent American Pharoah to Oakland.
Yep.
Maybe this is what he's doing here with Barnes, too, making the assessment, the idea that he can handle it, which says a lot about him as an individual.
And the fact that he sent him to Churchill, you know, to break his maiden little familiarity with the racetrack as well.
Getting used to the airplane.
You know, frequent flyers.
Yeah.
As race number 8 coming up next. Horses in the paddock there, but we'll also step down in the Big Easy. I'm actually going there on Sunday, so looking forward. That missed the Risen Star, but we're going to check in with the field coming up next after this break. Welcome back to the program with live racing coverage from Oakland Park. It's America's Day at the Races, but we are here in New York, but we're going to go down to New Orleans. The Risen Star, the next Derby prep on the schedule, offering 50 points to the winner into this year's Kentucky Derby. And coming in off of a runner-up performance in the LeCompte is built in here to Disco Time. We heard minor step back for Disco Time. He'll skip the Risen Star, but this kind of a surprise entry for Wayne Catalano and his team putting built in here.
Yeah, look, it's when it comes to this type of these type of races, this time of year, you're going to see some changes, right? People are trying to get into the Derby when they see a spot maybe come back a little bit lighter, or some changes happen, or if a horse is doing well, they're going to make some changes, and it seems like that's what they decided to do with Built after his run in the LeCompte. I thought he got a pretty good setup in the comp. I think he needs to get a little bit faster. If the real East Avenue shows up, or even a glimpse of the real East Avenue, I think it's going to be a tougher spot for Built, especially because he shares the same running style as East Avenue, so that doesn't always bode well for him either.
All right. Well, he did have that sloppy track last time out. Now, the coach, Dwayne Lucas, as we bring Richie in here, kind of doing a swapsies as he had Innovator in the LeCompte to set the pace in that race. He's going to try to go to the Rebel. Now he's shipping American Promise, Richie, back down to Louisiana, and he had some trouble going back to the Southwest Stakes.
Yeah, and I had a chance to sit and talk with Wayne about it, and he said that American Promise, he's a big, robust horse. He doesn't think that the, quicker turnaround, right? You have 1 week less than going into the Rebel will hurt him. If anything, he thinks it'll help him because he's a horse he feels like needs racing to get to his optimum fitness. He also said that going to the fairgrounds, longer stretch and 1.1 1/8 miles, and he feels like the longer the better for American Promise, where Innovator, he said, feels like he needed another week. So that's why he came here. Now, Innovator worked this morning, and he worked spectacularly over this race course here at Oakland Park. He went 59, and Wayne's really, really happy with him. But he said that's why he changed it up, sent American Promise to fairgrounds, a little bit longer stretch, a little bit longer distance, and the fact that he feels like the racing will help him get to that fitness level.
Richie? Great reporting. Thanks for investigating that for us. When it comes to the coach, so looking forward to American Promise. And JK, he wasn't standing in the gate very well going back to that Southwest Stakes, and he kind of launched himself out of there, kind of half reared up, put himself behind the 8 ball, kind of rushed up on the backside, and then, rightfully so, got tired. But he's a horse that possesses, when he gets away from the gate, some good speed.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's not the best post if he's going to be a horse that's going to habitually break a little bit slow. But like you said, he's got enough experience in the past. He hasn't always done that. He did it on debut. He did it last time. I'd be a little concerned, if he's going to do it down there from the inside, because if he does it from there, it's going to be really tough against this group. But he has shown that he doesn't have to do that.
Yeah, exactly. But like you said, sometimes having to stand in the gate for the longest amount of time is not good for those horses who get a bit antsy in there. So Risen Star coming up tomorrow down at the fairgrounds, and we will also see, Sunland Derby. That's on Monday. John Battaglia at Turfway, Rebel at Oakland, in which we will all be there. Actually, myself, Richie, Acacia, we'll be holding down the fort in Hot Springs. And then, of course, the Fountain of Youth, Gotham, and San Felipe on March 1st. All of those, mostly all those, offering 15 points to the winner. Coming up next at Oakland, it's race number 8 with horses hitting the track in here. Still a very wide open board that we see with 2 7-2 shots lured away and Tomcat Tuesday. Did you have any early thoughts about this race, JK?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that the 5 lured away made the most sense with experience. Doesn't have a style I love, but in a wide open race like this, taking that horse at a short price doesn't make me feel too good. I thought the 8 Soul Loot made a little sense as well, but right there with the same similar price. I'm going to see if they can kind of separate a little bit here and price-wise. There's about, 4 or 5 horses that are in with like a point and a half of each other.
So you're taking Kenny McPeek, basically.
Maybe.
Either way.
Maybe. We'll see. We'll see. This is a tough one.
Does it bother you at all, though, that Lured Away was a well-beaten favorite last time out?
It's his style. I think that can kind of like allow me to forgive that a little bit because he comes from out of it. Sometimes you get beat like that.
Predecessor will kick things off, switching back to the dirt here for Steve Asmussen.
Yeah, it took some money when it was on the dirt, but did not run either of those races very fast.
First time Lasix on to a long shot here for John Ortiz, Fountain Lake.
Yeah, it's been a big price basically in every start.
Razor Cat will get a makeover here off the layoff. Blinkers on, Lasix.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Gets the blinkers and the Lasix. We saw that work a little bit earlier today.
Risk Factor stretching back out in distance here.
Yeah, puts the blinkers on, trying to go a little bit longer. Didn't work the first time.
And here's a horse that's been battling for favoritism, Lured Away.
Just consistent, this horse is, in terms of the figures. Always kind of comes running late, but you're starting to wonder, does he want to get his picture taken?
Tomcat Tuesday on a Friday.
Yeah, this one feels a little bit over bet for me off of that last performance. Feels like last time was the time.
Here's a first-time start for Brad Cox, currently at 9-2.
Yeah,
Top customer.
This horse getting ignored for Brad doesn't seem like a positive.
The other Kenny McPeek runner, Soul Luke, went by. Here's La Hooligan, dropping down, actually.
Yeah, it's been running its maiden special weights and is just a little bit slower than I prefer on numbers. Need to take a slight step forward.
For the coach, Sprint Out Pass.
Yeah, it's a good name, Sprint Out
No
Pass.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a half to play action pass. So I prefer the play action pass, the sprint out pass. When you sprint out, Maggie, you cut off one half of the field, right? Sprint out to the right, you can't throw it to the left.
Exactly. I like that.
You're
there you
welcome.
go. Well, that is your field here for race number 8, and we definitely need some help here. So, Mig, what do you got for us? What have you seen from this field of maidens?
I need help too, Maggie, but actually a lot of nice people here by the set. Actually, nice young man just had a horse pay $19 to show. He's a show bettor, but he's picking horses and he's having a great day. This is an interesting race, right? One of those maiden auction, horses that have were sold for less than $75,000 at auction. The 5 Lured Away, listen, makes a lot of sense. Has been running consistently the same kind of races, and they're all good enough to win here. Looks terrific on the track for Kenny McPeek, and he gets Julian Leperoux, who is his go-to rider here at the Oakland meeting. The 6 Tomcat Tuesday looks really good. Norm Cassie, the Leblongs, Arkansas natives, they love to win here at Oakland. Horse making a really nice impression in the warm-up as well. The 7, first-time starter, kind of interesting. Tough to debut, 2 turns, 1 mile and a 16th, but a really good pedigree on this horse. Half to West Coast Belle, a Grade 2 stakes winner. Actually, Wayne Catalano trained her. I thought he looked really, really fit, though, for Brad Cox, and you get Rafael Bejarano. The horse I would pick here out of all of these, because he really matches up physically as well as I liked his first race, is the 8 Soul Loot, making a beautiful impression by Midnight Loot, who is known more as a sprinter. But because he had a breathing problem, he wound up being a sprinter. Bob Baffert always felt like he would have been a horse that could have been a good router. Horse has got a lot of size and scope to him, just like his sire, Midnight Loot, did, out of a Colonel John Mare. I thought ran extremely well on debut, where he kind of, I thought, made a bit of a middle move and got there and kind of idled, and then, ran on okay to be second. And I think this horse could take a big step forward. Kenny McPeek's a trainer whose horses tend to race into condition. If they win first time, it's just because they have that much natural ability. It's not like he cranks him up to win. He's developing a horse more for a career than a race. And I think there's more upside here with Soul Loot making his second start.
I could not agree with you more, Richie. I thought that was a very useful debut. And if we still have Mig here on the line, Mig, as we are nearly a week out from the Rebel, have you heard any buzz about, the horses that are pointing potentially to that next Derby prep? Just kidding. We may have lost Mig.
I can pretend to be Mig. I love the Rangers.
He's back. And we know you love the Rangers, Meg, but
Yes.
just wondering, I'm sorry, if you had any buzz, any insight on the horses that are potentially pointing to next week's Rebel.
You know, other than really watching Innovator work this morning, not as much as I would like, but I was back in New York for 4 days, Maggie. So we'll be out and about on the grounds tomorrow morning on the backstretch, and I'd certainly be getting more intel. But I have to tell you, Innovator impressed me to no end this morning. And this horse, not only did he work fast, and you know that I'm not a time guy when it comes to works. I'm more visual, how horses do things. You want to talk about a horse, though, that just bounced over this racetrack and really, really had his legs up underneath him through the wire, galloped out explosively. I think he is primed for a really, really big effort.
One more question. Did you watch that work trackside or from your hotel room?
No, I actually watched it trackside. Although my routine, Maggie, is get up in the morning, make my coffee, brought my own Keurig. It's in the hotel room. And I do watch the first set from the hotel room before I venture out. It's been pretty cold here. Maybe not New York cold, but certainly Arkansas cold.
I don't blame you. It's quite a comfy and cozy spot to just open your curtains and look out on the track to watch morning training.
No balcony, right? You can't.
No
you can
balcony.
Just look out.
Yeah.
Got it.
But
Okay.
you are so close. It's literally a driveway between you and the outside rail from your hotel room.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
But good to hear because, I thought Innovator, in the context of that Lecomte, he was coming off the back of a maiden score, right, against many horses who had run against winners prior and set if a pace, that was somewhat enterprising. And the winner, who may have just been best, came from well back. So he's getting back to a racetrack in which he broke his maiden over. He might be pretty interesting in the Rebel.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's got a weapon that you want to have with horses like this. He's got a couple of weapons. One, you have the experience of a Hall of Famer like D. Wayne Lucas, so that's good.
Mm-hmm.
But also that speed, right? I mean, it's one thing you can't really coach, no pun intended, but you want to be forward in these types of dirt races, especially with these younger horses, and he's proven. He's got that foundation as well that can go a long way. He's got to get a lot faster, and if he has to look a horse in the eye like Barnes or even maybe Bullard for Michael McCarthy, who's possible for going there too, those are some pretty talented horses that also have all of those things that I said Innovator has. Barnes just might be better.
Sounds like we're going to get the Southwest and the Smarty Jones winner in the Rebel as well, in Speed King and Coal Battle.
Yeah, Coal Battle ran well. I was pretty impressed with the way that he ran, and it's a fun story with his connections, not necessarily being when you think Derby, you don't think those connections. So that's exciting as well too. So it should be a lot of fun. The Derby preps at Oakland, because of the money that they've thrown at him, the timing, the proximity, I think, in terms of geographically how close you could be to California or to New York or to Florida or to Fairgrounds or to wherever. Kentucky, it works out really well, I think, for those fields to kind of be robust, but then also have a lot of the big names, the big horses.
And historically, we've seen horses that prep there for the Derby perform pretty well.
Absolutely.
In the Kentucky Derby. But real quick, back here for this 8th race, a Tough Customer. You had mentioned a horse that you would have expected to take a bit more money. Currently at 5-1, this first-time starter for Brad Cox. What do you kind of glean from him? He's a candy ride. As Mig said, half to West Coast Belle, who's a graded stakes winner.
Yeah, I mean, Candy Ride's one of my favorite sires in the game. I guess the problem is just like if Brad Cox has got a well-meant horse at Oakland in a maiden race with a nice pedigree, they're not usually 5-1.
Right. I could not agree with you more, but also, as Meg said, it's tough to debut going 2 turns in here, and Tough Customer offered for this $75,000 as they are taking their places in the gate, and we will take it out to Matt Dinnerman for your call of race 8 from Oakland Park.
Two back, lured away, one of 2 runners for the Kenny McPeak barn. And then to the outside post, sprint out pass. Here's sprint out pass. Here we get We're ready to go. And we're off. La Hooligan stumbled badly at the break. Razor Cat in the lime green on the lead with the gray. Risk Factor, who's pretty close. Predecessor has speed. Fountain Lake on a hold, trying to ration his speed between horses, taking back, easing off the pace as they go into the first turn run here. Predecessor from the inside. Razor Cat outside, right there with him. And Tomcat Tuesday makes it pretty much 3 across the track with Fountain Lake right behind them in 4th. Risk Factor is 5th on the outside. There's a gap of 2 to Soul Loot in a good position. Sprint out pass alongside of him. Tough Customer, the first-time starter. 3rd last, 4 clear of Lured Away, and La Hooligan after the bad break is last. First, Predecessor. It's Predecessor. Keith Asmussen on the lead today. A neck in front. Razor Cat hounding from the outside. Tomcat Tuesday in the 3rd position. Fountain Lake in a good gallop 4th to the inside of Risk Factor the gray. Then Sprint out pass. Soul Loot, they're side by side. They're 3 from the lead. Tough Customer attempts to get closer in the pink jacket. Another space of 2.5 to Lured Away and La Hooligan as they go into the 4-turn run. Predecessor, Razor Cat are even. Tomcat Tuesday sent along a little bit, 3 deep. Risk Factor is 4 wide. Soul Loot is right behind those leaders searching for racing room. La Hooligan's flooring it on the far outside from last. He's making a move. Can he keep that move up? He's past runners. He's challenging for 3rd right now. At the top of the lane, Razor Cat drops out. So does Predecessor. La Hooligan, grandstand side with a massive move to the front. La Hooligan, Christian Torres with a furlong to go in front. Now Lured Away coming on the scene now, charging quickly after La Hooligan, who's starting to get tired after that early move. Here comes Lured Away. Lured Away to the lead on the inside. Fountain Lake's run tenaciously. He's trying to come on, but it's Lured Away to win it. Lured Away over Fountain Lake, then La Hooligan and Soul Loot, who is 4th.
Got a little bit of pace to run into, and that's all he needed. Lured Away, making the last move, a winning one. Actually had to hold off a big long shot in here at 50-1, running really well with Fountain Lake.
You know, I want to start with, obviously, the 5 ran extremely well, and we'll talk about that one. But I want to say that the move that Christian Torres made on La Hooligan, those moves do not offend me. I would much prefer my riders be aggressive and try to win races and make mistakes trying to win rather than make mistakes trying not to lose. I just prefer that for my riders on a horse that I might have bet on. And so I have no, look, it was the wrong move. He moved too early, but I don't have a problem with it. He just got a little tired.
Significantly out of the gate, too, which put him behind the 8 ball. No, I 100% get you. You got to get him involved.
Yep.
As the 5 Lured Away, really hitting his best strides late here, and it's taken him a few tries. His 6th career start ends up his winning one, Julien Leparoux, in the irons for Kenny McPeak. Richie, you know, when you're dealt a hand like Christian Torres was out of the gate, was that the right move in hindsight?
Well, listen, hindsight's always 20/20. He's the leading rider. I don't mean to sound overly critical, but it kind of simplifies things. You got to play the hand you're dealt. And when you get off to a stumbling, bumbling beginning like that, I think I would have tended to be a bit more patient and not made that kind of aggressive, bold move. Now, if it was the short wire, it would have worked, but it was the long wire. And the horse, you know, think about, you know, you're driving your car. There's only so much gas in the tank. It's the same thing riding a horse. That gas gauge is going to start to dwindle when you make that big explosive run around the far turn. And unless you're a Razi or the like, it's going to catch up with you late. I think that was one I'm sure Christian would like to have back.
Yeah, it's things when they go wrong out of the gate. It's just like plan X, Y, and Z at that point. But it looks like it is 5-9. Unofficially, they're at Oakland for their 8th race. But coming up next, we'll check in with Rachel Alexandra the Great as a race named in her honor. Also coming up tomorrow at the fairgrounds.
History remembers moments of extraordinary strength, skill, and determination. True greatness is forged by those who fulfill their destiny.
They're coming down for the finish, and it is Silver State.
50, 60, 250, 60, now 60, 260 mark, 260,000.
Grade 1 winner Silver State, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Get into the game with Bond Racing Stable. When you partner with Bond Racing Stable, the Bond team does all the work and you enjoy the experience. As a partner, you can watch morning workouts, come to the paddock for saddling, and cheer your horse down the stretch. Bond Racing Stable offers more than 30 New York-bred weanlings, yearlings, and 2-year-olds in a partnership program that gets you to the winner's circle. Whether on your own or with friends and family, make Bond Racing Stable your racing partners. Go to jamesbondracing.com today.
Welcome back to the program. It's America's Day at the Races here on FS2 as we see lured away a maiden no longer, getting his picture taken. A well-timed ride by Julien Leparoux.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm sure for a second he was sitting back there thinking, oh no, this 9 is long gone. And then right about here, he goes, oh no, he's coming back to me a little bit. Nice patient ride from Julien. What he's known for throughout his career is his ability to have a nice clock in his head and finish his races well.
Kenny McPeak training the winner and the 4th place finisher for second there at a massive price of 50-1, Fountain Lake. So that exacta returning $113.50. Race number 9 coming up next. It is the feature upper level allowance race, going the 6 furlongs for some salty sprinting veterans, and currently 7-5 on the gray colt Glengarry for Doug Anderson and Francisco Arrieta. Well, before the break, we talked about Rachel Alexandra the Great. And in 2009, it was certainly a fairy tale year for the 3-year-old filly, taking down the boys in the Preakness as well as the Haskell. But she had one more task to do, and that was to take on older males in that year's Woodward. And that would be the day that would live in history as a day the rafters were raised at Saratoga.
Walking over for the race, she really had a race day feel about her. She really exuded a lot of confidence in her handlers and stuff when she was right. We felt good about that.
It hit us pretty much in the paddock, seeing all the other very accomplished colts that she was going to go up against, and seeing the mass of people.
Everybody loved Rachel, you know, no matter where she went, she was popular, you know, but when you come into a race like this, you know, you fixing to hook the old horses, and, you know, they had a little pressure on you.
They had decided to pass on the Travers because they had nothing to prove against 3-year-old colts. She won the Preakness, and she won the Haskell. There was certainly nothing left for her to prove with members of her own sex and generation. The only thing left was for her to go against older males.
And they're off.
Steve told me, said, you know, just go ahead and let her run away from there, and she'll carry you, you know, and she did, you know, because we went fast.
Oh, the first quarter was 22 4/5 seconds. There'll be no free ride for Rachel Alexandra. They're making her work for every step today.
Durkin's amazing call, but when he shouted out the fractions, I mean, you got a little weak.
46 2 was the half mile. Calvin Burrell was able to slow that pace down just a little bit.
When I said a bit of a breather, you know, it was just a bit of a breather. She was still going too fast.
And Macho again is firing.
From the 3/8 pole to the quarter pole, I give her a little breathing. I'll never forget it. I give her a good breathing there. And then when I asked her again, you know, she got away. So I said, well, we're fine now.
And Calvin Burrell imploring his filly for more. And Rachel Alexandra holds on to the lead.
About 40 yards from the wire. It looked like he was going to get by her, you know, but she kept digging in, digging in.
Rachel Alexandra, Macho again. They're coming down to the finish. It's going to be desperately close. Here's the wire. Rachel won. She is indeed Rachel Alexandra, the great.
For a 3-year-old filly to beat older males in a grade 1 on the dirt here at Saratoga, knowing it's happened, seems far-fetched.
Rachel Alexandra raises the rafters here at the Spa.
And when I stood up, you know, and I looked at Robbie, I said, I don't care if we would have went another round, you would have never got by her, you know. That's the type of horse she was.
I mean, it was thunderous. The whole grandstand was shaking.
All those people in the grandstand screaming their lungs out, all of that air into wooden beams that are 100 years old. And it literally hit them with such force that it made them move. And that's what I felt, literally, in my feet. And that's why I said she raised the rafters in Saratoga.
Afterwards, with a great sense of relief, and watching her leave the winner's circle and walk the length of the racetrack to the test barn with the fans 10, 15 deep. They kind of bubbled as she walked. It was very special.
She's an icon. We have a giant statue of her at the farm. She's happy, and she's definitely retired, but she'll run around the paddock a little bit.
Something as special and unique as Rachel is why we all do this. And be able to relive it, you know, that how blessed we've been to be in her presence, and what a horse like Rachel can do for us that we've never been able to do for ourselves.
I don't know about you, JK, but even just thinking about that day, even though I wasn't even there, I watched it at home on the TV, I get goosebumps.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think my fandom is very obvious. She's tattooed on my arm.
Yeah, right?
She was sensational. I still can't think of a moment in which I've seen a horse accomplish what she did that year, and beating the boys and winning the Haskell and what she did in the Kentucky Oaks, and then going on to beat the older males in the Woodward. She was remarkable. How amazing she was. The first time I ever walked into Churchill Downs, I saw her win by 20. That was the first day that I was ever there. And I've been there a lot since then, but yeah, that's pretty special.
I feel like we're never going to see, at least in this day and age, something like her ever again. And just to be present with her greatness, you know, you feel honored. Richie, take us back to your memories of Rachel Alexandra.
Well, just what you guys are saying, we will never see a 3-year-old filly put together a campaign like Rachel Alexandra ever again. She was the best 3-year-old of either sex in her year. Amazing what she did in the Kentucky Oaks. She started drawing away into the far turn in just breathtaking ease, and then to come back and beat the boys in the Preakness, beat the older males in the Woodward, just phenomenal. And she had an intensity about her. I had a wonderful opportunity to visit with both Rachel Alexandra and Zenyatta in the same afternoon with Ernie Munich, our good friend, and Steve Haskin. And when we went, and I actually got to hold Rachel on the shank and pet on her, and she still had this kind of a little bit of arrogance, this little bit of aloofness to her. She was just a remarkable horse. And guys, listen, I go back further in this game because I'm an old man now. Seeing the likes of Ruffian, I was there when Ruffian won the Fashion Stakes at Belmont, and I put her in that category. Horses that just make an indelible mark on you. I might not have a tattoo of her, but the memory of her is tattooed on my heart. Feel very privileged. And guess what? We owe a big thank you to her connections. Steve Asmussen handler, Hal Wiggins before winning the Kentucky Oaks, but Jess Jackson, her owner. No other owner would have kind of mapped out a campaign and take on the challenges she took on and pass every test with flying colors. And to give you another example, a race that's never talked about, the Mother Goose, which she won by, I don't know, 20 lengths. The horse that was third that day, Flashing, wound up winning 2 Grade 1s after that, the Test and the Gazelle, the last 2 Grade 1 wins of my career. And she toyed with them. I mean, it was like they weren't even in the same racetrack. She was out for a public workout. A phenomenal talent.
I guess Richie got a good view of Rachel's rear end, maybe that day on Flashing. No, I'm kidding. I don't even know if Richie rode her in that race. But look, Rachel, just a remarkable horse. And, I feel like so many people were made fans of this game because of her.
Yeah, I mean, it's the idea. I mean, Zenyatta, obviously, when she took on the boys a couple of times, it was pretty special. But to see what she did in the Preakness, she won the Kentucky Oaks. There was the private purchase, and then she came back 2 weeks later and ran against the Derby winner, and Calvin chose her because he rode the Derby winner, Mind That Bird. He chose her over Mind That Bird. She puts away Big Drama in that race, who went on to be a Breeders' Cup Sprint winner.
Yeah.
Put him away and then held off Mind That Bird. And then it wasn't even over then. She just kept winning. She won the Mother Goose and then her Haskell. And she was just, it was remarkable. The biggest regret I think I have, not a regret, but one thing I wish we could have seen was her and Zenyatta getting the same gate on the dirt somewhere, going 1 1/8, 1 1/4,
Yep.
whatever it would have been. It would have been pretty special.
It would have been remarkable as well. Yeah, that Preakness, that was the closest I got to her. They were schooling her a couple days before the Preakness, and I was standing in the stall thinking they'd go in the other one, and they just brought her into the stall. I was standing there, and I was like this far away from Rachel. I was like, ah. So that's my Rachel story.
She was awful.
Anyway, the race named in her honor taking place tomorrow at the fairgrounds will go off as race 13. 7 o'clock Eastern time. We have an undefeated filly heading this race here, and making her 3-year-old bow is Good Cheer for Brad Cox and Godolphin. And she's been pretty darn good. She won the Goldenrod and the Rags to Riches, as well as her first 2 starts prior.
Yeah, the flag bearer for the Godolphin group, who unfortunately had the injury to the champion Immersive, and now they have Good Cheer to kind of carry the blue around the racetrack, and pretty good backup with the alternative with an undefeated horse. She probably needs to get a little bit faster to start getting you excited about the Lilies on the first Friday in May, but she certainly has what it takes to be competitive in this spot and deserves to be the favorite.
But you do say this often yourself that she's run 3 consecutive 86 buyers. I don't know what she's run on other speed figures, but she did that as a 2-year-old. There's every reason to believe she can be faster now as a 3-year-old.
Absolutely, but there's also that situation where that also could be that she was just ahead of everyone else, and now the other ones are catching up. You see it every year. You see these sensational 2-year-olds who don't turn the page, and that definitely could happen too. And at a short price, you want to make sure you protect against that. But she definitely deserves to be the favorite. She's a likely winner of the race, but there is a couple of others. I think Simply Joking's interesting, who ran well last time for Whit Beckman, another one that could kind of be going in that direction.
Let's talk about her. Simply Joking, daughter of Practical Joke. She did answer the 2-turn test with aplomb last time out in taking the race that precedes this one, the Silver Bullet Day. She was the favorite, but JK, as I always say, with these Practical Jokes, and she's out of an Dubai mare, is she going to get better with more ground?
Yeah, well, I think that she'll at least pass the test tomorrow, I think, when it comes to distance. As they get a little bit further on the first Friday in May in the Kentucky Oaks, that 1 1/8, maybe that's not what she necessarily wants. It's just tricky. I didn't learn a lot about her here. The pace wasn't that fast. It was on a sloppy racetrack. She was the favorite. She'll have a lot to prove come tomorrow.
Yeah, but certainly at least a pace presence. In the Rachel Alexandra tomorrow, it is a grade 2 on that Risen Star card. Horses in the paddock for the feature at Oakland Park. Looking forward to seeing what Glengarry can do. He's pretty darn fast. Will he have any company up front? More to come on this race after the break. Welcome back to the program. Here it's America's Day at the Races, and we are proudly brought to you by Naira Bets. Bet any track, anywhere, anytime. As I was running security for Mel, our camera woman / editor producer, jack of all trades, when we were having to make our way from the hotel to the racetrack. Have you made that walk?
I haven't been there since they really. Well, I guess I was there not from the hotel. I haven't been there since they did the hotel. I've been there since the casino was there, but I hadn't been there since the hotel.
Yeah, it's pretty darn easy. It's very quick there, but it's still pretty quick when you do it in real time. Horses on the track for today's 9th race, and we'll kick things off here with number 1, Durante.
Yeah, lost to Lasix last time, gets it back this time. Needs to get a little faster for this group.
A horse that once upon a time looks as though greatest stakes runner's future, not quite the case with Rivet now.
It's funny, I interviewed Keith Asmussen one time, and he listed this as one of his favorite horses.
I believe him. Glengarry is your current favorite.
Yeah, has a lot of early speed. Probably a little overbet, though, for me.
Long layoff here for number 4, Sir Wellington.
Yeah, he's got some big races. That race 3 back at Delaware could absolutely win this one.
Coming out of that key race with Rivet is Run Classic.
He has some big races going a little bit longer, but he does have that good sprint down at Gulfstream from February of last year. He'd need to find that race.
Here is the other Asmussen horse, Chasing Time.
Yeah, Chasing Time. Get the other. It's a lot of Asmussens in this race. Another My Race horse, not this time. Has some good races on the turf. Needs to find that race from 3 back to be competitive.
That is your field here for race number 9, contested over the good track, going the 6 furlongs, and we'll send it back out to Mig for more.
I just think this is a tremendous race. I mean, just a bunch of good, classy campaigners. We'll start talking physically about the 1, Durante, carrying good weight. You know, David Jacobson's not a trainer that works his horses hard or fast. And you can look at the work tab, and that bears that out. You know, halves in 53, 52. And he does carry some weight. I just wonder, he hasn't run since December 7th, if a race won't help him. And I agree with Jonathan. I think he needs to find a race a little bit faster than what we've seen from him previously to be competitive here. The 2, Rivet. When Rivet runs his A race, he shows high speed. And I'm assuming that that's got to be the game plan here. Now, they're not owned by the same people, but Steve also has Chasing Time in here, who's more of a closing type. So they have a complementary style. I think if Rivet goes, that could be the fly in the ointment for the 3, Glengarry, who is very, very fast. One thing we notice usually here at Oaklawn Park, you get fast contested paces. The riders aren't as much in the habit of raiding horses along, as we see quite often, particularly on the New York circuit. Glengarry looks fantastic, very, very fast, but I think he's going to catch some real heat from Rivet. And I think the race is really going to set up well for the 5 Run Classic. Son of Run Happy, a horse that has races that are certainly good enough to win here. A little bit concerning for me, 2 starts at Oakland, 1/3 to show for it, but I do think that he has that race back in December. And again, we talk about, horses training here. There were a lot of interruptions in training because of inclement weather. I think that race will help him out. I mean, it's still a little while ago now, but I like the way he's been training up to this. And I think he's just going to sit the right trip under Christian Torres.
Very well could be doing just that here, Meg. Thank you. And, Run Classic, a horse that, as I mentioned, comes out of that same race with Rivet, but we saw 4 next time out winners emerging out of that one. JK.
Yeah, that goes a long way. You want to find these productive races. You look at it like a strength of schedule. It lets you have a better understanding of what actually happened. Speed figures can go a long way. Getting the win can go a long way. But understanding how those things and who they were earned, how they were earned and who they were earned against, I think does tell you a lot there. So, Run Classic's one that's got some foundation. He's a horse that'll be finishing. He's been in different barns. He's run well for different barns, which I think is a nice thing to see. A horse that kind of, he brings his trainer with him to a certain extent. He's just going to need them to run in front of him a little bit.
He, of course, by Claiborne Stallion, Run Happy. And, last time I thought he was kind of just wide throughout there and ultimately proving, third best in that affair behind Banishing, who would come back and win with a 100. We saw Tejano Twist come back and win the stake for the sprinters on Southwest Day with a 98 buyer. So definitely beaten by two very nice horses. So if they're not in here, he makes a lot of sense.
No, it's this it's a compact group, but it's got a lot of horses in here that are just kind of right on the edge of being stakes type horses. And Glengarry is one who's got some pretty nice performances, but does need to take that step forward in terms of speed figures if he wants to kind of be in the mix for being competitive in races like the Lafayette that he was in Keeneland, and to stay in spots like that and not have some of the disappointing performances like you might see in Mahoning Valley and like the Steel Valley.
And two, for Glengarry, this is his first start against older company. He's a newly turned 4-year-old, and I just feel like several of these in here have faced some tougher customers in the past. And I, too, like Mig, think he'll have company up front from Rivet. I would not necessarily, lament him as your automatic winner at 6-5 as they head into line. Interesting field. Will it be the up-and-comer Glengarry, or will one of the gritty veterans get up and get the win here? Matt Dinnerman has your call of the feature from Oakland.
Here's Chasing Time. We're ready to go. Run Classic throwing his head around in there, settling down, and they're off. Chasing Time was off slowly, so was Durante. Glengarry had no problems coming out of there and darts to the lead at once. Rivet takes back. Durante joining him while Aggressive taking that second position. Sir Wellington third with Rivet. Gap of 3 to Run Classic and Chasing Time as they head down the backstretch. Glengarry goes off as the even money favorite, and with a half mile to go, he's on top of length and going well too. Glengarry with a half mile left. Durante clearly in the second, pressing the pace a half length back. Had to use some energy to get to where he's at, but he's pressing hard now with 3 furlongs to go. Durante, gap of 2 to Sir Wellington. Rivet is in fourth on the rail, and Chasing Time with Run Classic as they round the far turn. Durante, Glengarry there even, approaching the quarter pole. Sir Wellington 2 back in third. Chasing Time's underway into the fourth position. Run Classic caught deep, and the swing off the corner has a lot of ground to make up. They're off the turn. Glengarry holding on to the lead with Durante, who's right there. Durante and Glengarry side by side. Durante has run a huge race today. Glengarry trying to fight back from the inside, but Durante has the edge. Run Classic third, 100 yards left. Durante from Glengarry. Durante does it at 12-1. Durante with a huge effort. Glengarry second best, then Run Classic and Rivet.
Upset here as Durante finding some of his best form that had eluded him in the past. JK, I thought an excellent ride by Ricardo Santana. Did not get away that cleanly, but if you go back and look at Durante's better form, it was when he was up close to the pace.
Absolutely. He had kind of gotten off form. He had some big numbers back in 2023 that could suggest you would see something like this out of him. But yeah, Ricardo Santana, who hasn't been on him at least for his last 10, 15 starts, got here and really just got him in a great spot. And the newly turned 4-year-old in Glengarry, I thought ran well enough.
He did.
He just ran into a horse that meant business for them.
He did. Durante off the freshening gets the win here for David Jacobson. Glengarry, as you said, ran well. It wasn't the horse that we thought would be pressuring him. We thought Rivet might do that, but Durante, what a ride by Ricardo Santana, Meg.
Really good ride because there was no pace on for this level of horse. Sprinting at Oakland, 22-3 is a slow first fraction, and he took it to him after not breaking, particularly sharp. And guys, I wish he had won by a nose, so he could have said Durante gets it by a nose. You guys are probably too young to understand the reference, but I'll leave you with this. Ha-cha-cha-cha.
Thanks a lot. I have no idea.
I feel like I'm always getting yelled at about things I don't know from
Look,
Before I was born.
you can get me with like music. Like I'm pretty well versed with older music, but older TV references, movies, I'm terrible. I watched My Fair Lady last night. Have you ever watched that?
Nope.
Dude, you've got to watch it.
I don't think I have. I've got to see. Let me look it up.
I mean, it's the musical soundtrack is, I think, my favorite, hands down.
Definitely have not seen this.
Audrey Hepburn. That is David Duggan's favorite actress. Just ask him about it. Anyway, Durante gets the win at 12-1. Big upset in the feature from Oakland. Prices to come after the break.
How does it feel to win a race like this in your own backyard?
Being here, where I went to the track with my mom and dad. Oh.
And Blair off in the Southwest. Speed King on the lead today. He's trying to get over from the far outside. And Speed King says, come and catch me if you can. Speed King down the lane, but it's going to be Speed King. Speed King all the way.
Speed King living up to the name in this year's Southwest Stakes.
Nominate now for this year's Fasig-Tipton Selected Yearling Sales. The July sale, with a focus on precocious and athletic yearlings, July produces strong results in the sales ring and on the racetrack. Last year's sale produced the highest median in the sales history, with 46% of yearlings sold, bringing $100,000 or more. The 104th Saratoga sale, the crown jewel of American yearling sales, Saratoga smashed every record in its 103-year history, led by a $3.4 million sale topper. Saratoga also produces the highest percentage of Grade 1 winners of any North American yearling sale, led by recent Breeders' Cup Classic winner Sierra Leone. New York bred yearlings, the leading marketplace for New York breds, held during the Saratoga race meet. Last year's sale set the highest median in the sales history. Selected sales, superior results. Visit selectedyearlings.fasigtipton.com to nominate now for our 2025 Selected Yearling Sales.
It's Mandaloon. Mandaloon wins.
Welcome back to the program. It's America's Day at the Races, and Durante getting the win, finding some of his better form, gets his 9th career victory in his 34th start, ridden by Ricardo Santana and trained and owned by David Jacobson, who is standing by with Richie.
Yeah, thanks, Maggie. I got David, as well as Andre, his exercise rider. David's given a lot of credit for Durante's effort today. Boy, that was a big run from him. Did you expect that kind of effort?
Yeah, well, we were hoping for it. Yeah, I guess you have to expect it from him, the way he used to run back at Aqueduct, back at home. And we had some problems with his feet. We seemed to straighten him out. And with Andre getting on him every day and getting him ready, we got a great effort today. And hopefully, we got to figure out now what do we do with him and banishing.
Well, David, one thing I noticed, you tend to work your horses kind of very slow, and that's by design. What's the thought process behind that?
Well, I let the horses run, let them run fit. I don't like training them that much in the morning. It gives you an opportunity to make too many mistakes. This way you take your time, you try to find the easier spots, at least in the beginning, until they're ready, and then you turn them loose, and once in a while you get an effort like this.
That's more of an old school approach.
Oh, yeah. I learned from a couple of the old timers, Bobby Franco, and of course my father, Buddy Jacobson.
David, I got one other question. How did two New York guys like you and me wind up here in Arkansas?
Well, it's a beautiful place to be, and the training is great, and Pat Pope runs a great ship, and it's a great place to be for the winter.
I agree. Great racing, great place to be, and two New York guys. I guess we got to go to DeLucas tonight.
Yeah.
New York guys are in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and the Maryland/Texas are here in New York. What's going on?
I know, it's crazy.
It's crazy. Durante returns at 27.80 over even money favorite Glenn Gary. Run Classic rounds out your trifecta, and it feels like, per usual, when I'm up here on set, we've got some Arky breads to close out the action at Oakland today, and this one for the state-bred fillies, and an allowance race going the 6 furlongs early wagering. Going to number 5, no coincidences, as she will look to get back on track for Rambo Quet.
Yeah, she certainly deserves to be the favorite. She ran poorly last time after breaking extremely slow. And if you look back previous to that, she has some numbers here that are just much, much better than everybody else's.
Yeah, she's going to look and hopefully get away cleaner than what she did in that December 15th effort. But coming up after the break, as we celebrate Black History Month, looking back at one of the best black riders in history, Jimmy Winkfield. More about him and his legendary story after the break.
Jimmy Winkfield is probably among the most remarkable stories in thoroughbred racing history. You're talking about one of the most accomplished jockeys in a very short span in America, the only black jockey in the 20th century to win the Kentucky Derby, and he did it in back-to-back years. He was only the second guy to do that, following in the footsteps of Isaac Murphy. But his career in America is very short. After 1903, he was basically forced overseas. He had a conflict with John E. Madden, who was one of the top turfmen of the era. And there was also a lot of racism on the American tracks that really forced a lot of the black jockeys out of the game in America. Some went overseas, some just had their career end. But Winkfield had a remarkable journey throughout Russia, throughout Europe. He won over 2,500 races, and then he had success as a trainer. But it's also, you know, the other part of the story is what happened off the track. He had to escape the Bolsheviks during World War I in Russia. He had to escape the Nazis during World War II in France. So he had a remarkable life, and he kind of almost got overlooked, but some historians really revived his legacy. And through that, he was able to get inducted to the Hall of Fame, to have a stakes race named after him in the New York Racing Association. So just a remarkable life, and it's great that his history has been preserved. It's a different sort of history than you see in baseball. You didn't have that one person that broke that barrier. But Winkfield's story as being the last one to win the Kentucky Derby and one of only a few to win it in back-to-back years, I think it's really inspirational, and it's a big part of racing's history.
Jimmy Winkfield, just as you heard from Brian there in that piece, just a remarkable story of what he had to go through. And despite all that, despite being forced out of America, having to, you know, try to dodge the wars that were happening, had this amazing career as a jockey and as a trainer. And his story and what he achieved should and will be forever celebrated.
Absolutely. It's shocking you see that it's the last African-American jockey to win the Kentucky Derby, especially because of the history of the Derby with so many African-American jockeys winning it. So I'm very happy that he's got that we've honored him in the way that we have, and getting him into the Hall of Fame in 2004 I think is important as well, just to not let that history kind of slip away.
Exactly. As hopefully we will see more African-American jockeys in the Kentucky Derby. Obviously Kendrick Carmouche, one of those that first comes to mind. But Meg, as we welcome you back in, just talk about the importance that black jockeys and black horsemen in general have had on this sport throughout the years.
It runs so deep, Maggie. 12 of the first 14 Kentucky Derbies were won by African-American jockeys. Think about that. And obviously Jimmy Winkfield doing it in 1901 and 1902, His Eminence and Al Annandale. And then he nearly pulled off a three-peat in 1903. He was second on a horse named Early, then going off to Europe and be an amazing horseman, winning the Russian Oaks 5 times, the Russian Derby 4 times, settling in Maison Lafitte, becoming a successful horse trainer, an amazing character, an amazing person. And I would recommend anybody out there read the book Wink, The Incredible Life and Journey of Jimmy Winkfield. Incredible. And I really like, you know, unfortunately, because of racism and the Jim Crow laws, the African-American riders kind of fell out of favor and they stopped getting opportunities. And I love that you see more and more now. And obviously Kendrick Carmouche, a guy like Marlon St. Julian, who I got to ride with, tremendous riders getting opportunities to show what they can do on the racetrack. And it's long overdue, frankly. Terrific riders, terrific horse people.
Yeah, and it goes beyond, you know, African Americans in the saddle. I think, you think of black trainers and just, you know, so much I've learned from the racetrack of those old time grooms that came from, you know, South Carolina or New Orleans, and what they imparted on us from their horse knowledge. I just will carry through, at least personally, through all my years.
Yeah, it's like, you know, like we mentioned, it's the fact that the African American experience was such a big part of the history of horse racing.
Exactly.
And unfortunately it was derailed, and then now that it's you know, it's, I don't want to say it's back, but now that it's in a situation where you don't feel the racism at the points that it was, right? I mean, obviously it's still something that takes place, but to be able to try to find that history and to keep it at the forefront, I think is just so important, because it's just not something that we want to forget.
Exactly. Could not agree more. As horses in the paddock for today's finale at Oakland, a pretty full field there. Even Steve Asmussen, he's leading one up. Just kidding. But more on this race to come with 11 minutes to go. Stay tuned. You're watching America's Day at the Races.
Introducing Peace and Justice, new to New York in 2025. a proven sire with over 200 wins, 16% wins per starts, and one of only 2 New York-based stallions to have a graded stakes winner at Saratoga in 2024. Now, with 3 different racing surfaces coming to New York, and with New York breds running for equal purses as open company, Peace and Justice is the sure choice for 2025. Peace and Justice, now standing at Irish Hill and Duchess View Stallions in New York.
Enhance your handicapping with AI Fast Facts, exclusively on NyraBets. Open your NyraBets app, click View Runner Details, and a stat-driven fact will appear for all U.S. thoroughbred racehorses. Download the NyraBets app to start using Fast Facts today.
RaceLens is the most in-depth product in horse racing, with unique features found nowhere else. True odds, predictive analysis, and pace projection. RaceLens. It will change the way you follow horse racing and take your game to the next level.
These New York bred foals represent many sires: War Dancer, Salamini, Honest Mischief, Central Banker. But they all have one thing in common. Starting in 2026, they'll be running for the same purse money as open company 2-year-olds at Nyra tracks. That's nearly 20% more than they run for now. Learn more about it at nybreds.com.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. RTN has packages that start at $5 per month.
The post. The barrier, the stalls, the iron monster, the starting gate. There's so many key and important times in a race where jockeys have to make quick decisions, when to move, when to sit, wait behind horses. But to me, one of the most critical times in a race is leaving the starting gate. If you don't break cleanly, you can get shuffled back, taken out of position, and it's hard to get a horse in a good rhythm. Starts are so important. I want you to know what goes on inside the starting gate. Come on with me.
What are we doing? Hey, away from the truck. All right, yeah.
Key to breaking sharp from the gate is having your horse warmed up, alert, but settled. You want them relaxed. We got a great gate crew here in New York, and they know all the horses, their habits, what to expect. Put them in the gate, get them square, looking down the track, and be ready to go.
Try to get as relaxed as I can on my horse before we go in the gate. And once I get in there, I want to let him walk in and take a deep breath and make sure the gate guy get up, because I want to make sure he starts setting his feet correctly. And you know, the ones that's going to sit in there and be still, but I just want to keep it as relaxed as I can going into the gate with the horse, where the horse can feel like he's going to do his job. I'm going to just stay out of his way.
You get one that cuts right to the gate, sometimes they'll balk. It's a kind of a closed space. Some horses are a little claustrophobic. Important to pick up your feet so you don't get your legs caught on the side of the gate. You could feel their energy. Sometimes you'll feel their heartbeat beating on your leg. Again, want to keep them relaxed, settled, get them square. The assistant starters are so good at getting the horse nice and balanced. Sometimes you get one that's leaning a little too far, you'll take your leg, push off the petition, get them where you want them to be. Looking down the racetrack, all 4 legs square on the ground. Last horse gets ready to go in, you're gonna take your half cross, take a piece of mane, one hand, other hand free in case horse breaks left or right, you can correct them, and you're gonna be leaving here in a hurry.
Well, a lot of people wait on the guys to say 1 out to get all set and ready. You know, I'm not, you know, you can hear the guy say 1 out, but I'm mostly paying attention to the guy with the button. That's how I break so fast out the gate, you know. I'm a button guy, you know. Or I listen to the last door sound and the button. And after that, early position wins the race most of the time.
So many moving parts that make a horse break well or break poorly. It's important to have great communication between the rider and the assistant starters, as well as the official starter, and working with the trainers to make sure that if a horse is a little bit nervous, they school them, they get them where they're relaxed around the gate. It's not always the horse that's the most keyed up that breaks the best. It's the horse that's alert and settled and balanced in the gate. Then you can leave the gate in a hurry.
Really cool feature, Richie, that you shot a few summers ago up at Saratoga. Great insights from you as well as Kendrick Carmouche. But as we often talk about when it comes to Oakland, the riders there, they know how to get out of the gate. And we see those fast paces. For you, who has impressed you as those proverbial gate riders?
Well, Christian Torres, your leading rider, is the first one that comes to mind. You know, he's a rider that when a horse has speed, they seem to have more speed when he rides them. And when a horse doesn't have a lot of speed, he seems to be able to get speed out of them. And a lot of it is because he breaks very cleanly. He gets his position going forward. A lot of good riders here. Ramon Vasquez, another one I like in that respect. Isaac Castillo. A newcomer on the scene, though, Tyler Bacon, has really impressed me. An apprentice. Horses run up into his hands. He leaves the gate running clean. He likes to get his position going forward. I've been very impressed with him as well. And Maggie, I think Tyler Bacon, I'm going to expound a little bit here, is kind of a generational talent. I think he has a shot to be a real star in this game.
Meg, thank you. And I also love the fact that we shot a feature with him, Mel, as I mentioned before, about Tyler Bacon riding for the coach, D. Wayne Lucas. And he showed up at, I think, 9 o'clock in the morning with a full suit on, very professional. He's 17 years old.
I don't own a suit. I do own one now, but I didn't.
That really cool mint green one that you have.
I
love
own a
that
few
one.
now, but I didn't when I was 17 for sure.
Post parade starting here. Stanek went by. There's Fly Like the Wind. Here's number 3, a long shot, Magnolia May.
Yeah, this horse is going to have to get faster. Doesn't have the figures to match up with some of these other ones.
Revved up is Stephanie Starfish.
Yeah, it's interesting. Has some tactical speed. Ran well last time and could take another step forward.
Tyler Bacon. Well, his feet aren't in the irons, but he's at least on her back. As number 5, No Coincidences, 5-2 favorite.
If this horse runs the race from 2 starts back, they're all running for second.
Our Pirate Treasure.
That's a good one. That's a good one. This horse has some races back at Remington Park late last year that could be competitive.
Where she broke her maiden. Number 7, Wildwood Queen going by. She's a long shot. Here's Street Painter.
Yeah, Street Painter's got a race a couple back, but that was in the mud. The last 2 races have been in the mud. Sometimes they just like it that way.
Another debut maiden breaker is number 9, Caliente Star.
Yeah, could improve second time out. Took a little bit of money, ran well enough, just didn't get that fast of a speed figure.
Turn back for Cashmere Baby.
This one has some nice races, got a lot of experience as well. Sometimes that experience can go a long way.
Number 11, Miss Carroll County has some go-back races.
Yeah, tried the turf last time, but that race 3 back, that can be very competitive.
Against Open Company. Number 12, One Way or Another. Is she going to get him?
I was close. I was going to try to finish that one, but I would have messed up. Has some tactical speed, drawn towards the outside. Just my favorite trip for horses to get at Oakland Park, that kind of stalking dirt sprint trip. I think that could go in one way or another's favor.
And Christian Torres in the irons as we check in with Meg.
Yeah, thanks, Maggie. And, I think it's kind of a interesting race that you have 2 horses that broke their maiden first time out coming from off the pace, starting with the 4, Stephanie Starfish. And I've been waxing poetic about Tyler Bacon. So you get him here. She was pretty worked up in the post parade, and he did gallop over there with his feet out of the irons with the pony. But when you see a first-time starter win from off the pace the way she did, I like that. There speaks of a different kind of determination. You see a lot of first-time starters break their maiden going gate to wire. I think she also has a step forward in her. I like what I see from her other than her getting really worked up. But it looks like when she got to the backside, she kind of settled down quite a bit. The 5, No Coincidences. A lot went wrong last time coming back in December after breaking her maiden back in February. And in the slop or mud, when things go wrong, sometimes horses just get discouraged and they put up the white flag. I think you'll see a much improved effort, and obviously as your favorite, a lot of people agree with my thought process. And then the 9, Caliente Star. I agree with Jonathan. Has to improve a bit from the speed figure standpoint. But again, coming from off the pace to break your maiden is not something that's done easily. And again, it speaks more to a horse's character, and we'll find out a little bit more about the ability. And Jonathan, I did not own my first sport jacket till I was 16. My boss made me buy it, told me I was going to win my first race at the Meadowlands that night, wore the sport jacket over there, went off at about 6-5, got beat about 25 lengths after stumbling at the break. and I still have that sport jacket hanging in my closet because I thought my career was over before it started. And I looked at that sport jacket as kind of motivation. Anytime I thought I had a bad day, I'd go home and look at that sport jacket hanging in my closet and go, nah, that was a bad day when you didn't think you were going to make it.
Does your suit evoke that kind of memory for you?
No, it just makes me hot when I look at it. I'm like, oh, man. I got to wear this. I gotta wear this in the summer.
We share the same affliction, which is we're free sweaters.
Oh, man. I just get warm.
I hear you, man. I mean, that's why I can survive out there better than most in the cold, because I run hot, and luckily I have a perfect excuse. I can just wear a dress.
Yeah.
And you get away with it with the great shirt. So
yeah. You know, I worked that out.
You worked it out.
And I'm
very
still,
well.
and I feel bad too. I always when I'm on set, I'm like, oh man, I'm so hot, and I look over and they have on suits. I feel bad.
Yeah,
Not
I
really.
hear you. Caliente Star, you know, I thought it was interesting between the two first-time out winners that are coming back against this group of winners, Caliente Star and Stephanie Starfish. The morning line, there was this huge disparity, but here with the wagering, they're pretty close. I thought they ran similar types of races and, you know, races where they can both build upon them.
Well, the one thing I'll say about both of them, and we'll start with Caliente Star. Both of their trainers don't do great with first-time starters. So
Right.
Caliente Star, 2 for 84 throughout the career, 2% with first-time starters, and I'm assuming Caliente Star's one of those was actually 1 for 70 or 1 for 83 prior to that. When a horse breaks through a trainer's poor stat, it says a lot to me about their talent. So Caliente Star definitely is one of those. And then Stephanie Starfish the same way, an 8% trainer first-time starters and gets a win with a first-time starter. So both of them were able to break through those kind of poor stats. I don't want to say bad stats because a lot of times some trainers don't try to win first time out, so I don't want to say that they do something bad that they don't try to do, but the kind of the lesser stat. But I will say it again, if No Coincidences runs the race that she ran 2 back, she's going to win.
That was over a year ago, though.
Right, but still, I'm just saying if she can find that, if she can find that form, if that animal can show back up here, then she could be tough.
See if she can find her speed again and get away cleanly today as she heads in line and takes her place. Matt Dinnerman has the call of the finale from Oakland.
2 back. Pirate Treasure. Post position 6. And to the outside one way or another. One way or another to the outside post goes Zip. We're ready to go in the finale. And we're off in the nightcap. Slow break from Wildwood Queen. No problems from Fly Like the Wind, who's up on the pace. No coincidences. Flashing forward as a head lead now on Fly Like the Wind. Miss Carroll County up a joint second. Magnolia May in the 3rd position. One way or another is next in the field. Caliente Star Sthenic. They're side by side. They're a length and a half clear of a steadying Stephanie Starfish, who's been passed by Street Painter. Then comes Cashmere Baby. Gap of 5 to Wildwood Queen. And Pirate Treasure as they go into the 4-turn run. Leader up top, the favorite. No coincidences with 3 furlongs to go. Has a half-length lead on Miss Carroll County. One way or another, 3rd creeping in. Fly Like the Wind retreats to 4th while under pressure. Caliente Star joins her. Then Street Painter trying to rally on. Cashmere Baby splits horses, gets to the outside for the stretch drive. They're off the turn. Miss Carroll County, one way or another, they're even. No coincidences. Back in 3rd on the fence. Miss Carroll County goes strong one way or another, trying to push past. And on the inside, here comes Caliente Star with a big move. Caliente Star riding the rail for Francisco Arrieta, who's going to pick up a hat trick. Caliente Star 2 for 2 to kick off her career. She's a promising Arkansas bred. Miss Carroll County was 2nd, one way or another 3rd. Pirate Treasure gallops out for 4th.
Well, looks like Tammy Hornsby has a decent Archie bred on her hands as Caliente Star remains undefeated.
Yeah, back-to-back wins for a trainer who doesn't typically do that. It's a good sign for talent.
Great info there. Well, thanks for joining us here on the program, America's Day at the Races. We will be back tomorrow with some stakes action here at the Big A. The Say Florida Sandy Mama's Gold will try to turn back in distance and take on Doc Sullivan, a nice New York bred 4-year-old. Now we'll see what he can do as well. And the girls over at Oakland in the Dixie Belle, GW's girl, she will be looking to make good on that Mockingbird. Next show tomorrow at 1 o'clock.